Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Assiniboine Community Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. My name is Councillor Dobson. I will be the chairperson with us today. We have Councillor Lukes and Councillor Duncan. From the Winnipeg Public Service, we have Leah Cohen, and we also have one member from the from the Planning Department. I would like to do our land and water acknowledgement right now. I'd like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation and Treaty 3 territory. And at this point, I would like a motion from one of the councillors to approve the meeting of November 26th.
I'll give you a motion to approve that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Now, I believe we have delegations?
Yes, we have one delegation, John Winthrop, to be heard with respect to report 2, and John is joining us in the gallery today.
Morning, I'm Patsy, president. Get it working.
Thank you, Pat.
And that's related to the project.
Oh, okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, I'm on for this part.
And this is his presentation here. Okay.
Right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you all ready yet? Almost?
Almost. I'm trying to figure out your computer. I'm not the PC guy. Still talking to Pete? Where? Oh, yeah. Sure, what I'm doing here, share.
You're sharing your screen.
Kind of share just the presentation though.
Or no, sorry, it's on the agenda.
There we go. Okay, excellent.
Okay, where we go?
Good morning. My name is John Winthrop. I'm here for item, I believe, number 2 on your agenda, the amendment to DAZ at 101 DeVos Road. John Winthrop, professional planner, registered Canada and the United States, and some other credentials. We're here for a servicing agreement amendment for a future roadway improvement. We're at the public meeting for this. I believe it has to go through the Standing Policy Committee, EPC, and Council. I'm the applicant. I submitted this back on November 8th, 2024. Back in 2024, there was a rezoning application, DAZ 210-2024, where the developer pays now for future road improvements. Was a condition that was approved at Council, as this was skated through a public hearing at the Assiniboine Community Committee all the way up to Council. We're looking to change the agreement, just that one clause, that no payments for future road improvements along DeVos Road. So 101 DeVos Road is in the Richmond West neighborhood, Waverly West Ward. I hope I'm saying the name correctly. I'm terrible with names. There we go, DeVos. I believe that's a Belgium name, perhaps. It's on the north side of DeVos Road, 960 feet west of Pembina, abutting the CNR L'Atelier line. Property is zoned currently RR5, but it's been tentatively rezoned to an industrial category. We're a recent community, separate sewer district, Richmond West. We are just off a truck route, the Pembina Highway, and we're close to the Permita Highway. Transit, we have no transit along our street. The closest transit route is to the north of us in the residential neighborhood, as well as along Pembina Highway. Same in 2025, we do not have transit coming down our road. Currently, DeVos is a 66-foot wide P3 rural standard with ditch drainage. It's a dead end at the west end. It's dead end. It has a turnaround there. There's no other connections to any other residential roads or streets. So it's essentially a long cul-de-sac. South of our location is 102 DeVos Road, fronting DeVos. It has M1 zoning, and in behind it is the permanent highway. Directly to the east of us is 3101 Pembina Highway. It's a self-storage C2 zoning. It has no access to a DeVos Road, as you can see in this picture, looking east towards Pembina Highway. As you can see, the parking lot for the hotel there, that also does not have any access to DeVos Road. To the west of us are residential properties with R1 zoning. They have no access to DeVos Road across that ditch there. All their houses back onto this road. Currently, DeVos Road is a two-story structure. There was some hopper containers recently removed off the site for preparing for the upcoming redevelopment of the property. As I mentioned, it's RR5, but it's being changed tentatively to the industrial zoning district. It's a 4.2 acre site bounded by DeVos on the south, residential dwellings to the west and to the north, and the CN, the Tele line to the east of us. The proposed zoning is M1 light industrial, which has been conditionally approved. This is a site plan that was, I believe, used at that public hearing for the rezoning. As you can see, we're not going to have any new entrances along DeVos Road. We're not connecting to any of the residential areas because those are all backyard fences. We're not here for the site plan approval. This is just what was sketched up and used at the public hearing to show that the site is going to be redeveloping. I'm more pointing out that we're going to be using the existing approaches along DeVos unless something changes. So we're looking to amend the service agreement that required under the file by deleting future road improvement payments under Section 3, servicing conditions for DeVos Road. And I'll get into the reasons why shortly. The condition right now is essentially that the DeVos Road, which is a rural cross section, be urbanized with concrete roads, street lighting, landscaping, and a concrete sidewalk. Essentially urbanizing a rural standard roadway. Well, our rationale for why we don't believe that's necessary here is, again, there's limited vehicle access. DeVos Road is essentially a long cul-de-sac that terminates at the west end. It has no residential properties, no commercial properties connecting to it. Sandpiper Crescent does not connect to it. The ownership is limited to all industrial that essentially backs onto the permanent highway, has high profile along the permanent highway, and it has been backing onto the permanent highway for quite some time. We feel that the majority of the people along this road, including my client here, also owns 106 DeVos Road. So they control 101 and 106, and they control over 57% of the land that fronts onto DeVos Road. So the majority landowner fronting or using DeVos Road simply does not want to see the road change. They're happy with the current conditions. DeVos Road is pretty limited to commercial vehicle traffic. This was in the span of like 2 minutes here. I parked on the road, and this is looking both ways. These were the vehicles going by. I've been out to the site a number of times, as you can imagine. I've been down in St. Norbert quite a lot lately. Not so much in the last week, but I've been down there quite a lot, and I would check out on this site because I had this upcoming project. I always saw nothing but commercial trucks, but that's my perspective looking at it. The guy in the gold truck actually stopped me and wanted to know why I was taking pictures of his truck. I talked my way out of that one. All those industrial businesses along DeVos Road have been there for decades. I recall driving by there when I was, in the 80s and 90s. All those industrial businesses have been there for quite some time. They're well established. I don't believe any of them are looking. My client, who's intensifying out on the north side, has been out there for quite some time as well, and controls, as I mentioned again, about 57% of the frontage along DeVos Road. Road improvements. This is a picture of Inkster, where I'm familiar with another project. If there was to be an intensification to commercial or residential, you would capture in that, which would maybe dictate a changing from a rural standard roadway to a more urban standard with sidewalks on concrete curbs. You would be able to capture future improvements for that. So suddenly these properties all went residential, or some of them are commercial, which might dictate a change in the road. You can capture the money through that change in a rezoning to allow commercial and residential.
So say that again.
Well, if these properties decide to go commercial, or somebody says, geez, I want to go.
Oh, versus industrial, like.
Yeah, this is all industrial. This is all light industrial that's been out there for decades. I would say at least since the late 70s,
Right.
if not earlier. When it was probably even back when it was like part of the RM.
Right, so if you're saying if it's commercial or residential, there's higher.
Yeah, I think commercial residential will dictate probably a change to the roadway because you're going to get more light vehicles. I'll get into that second, but right now most of the vehicles are, I'd say, commercial weight vehicles that are 10,000 pounds or bigger. You're not getting residential vehicles driving up and down that road too often. It's all industrial and light industrial, other than employees heading sites. Most of it is all commercial vehicles. So if the properties were to change to residential to multiple family, which I don't know, maybe somebody wants to live next to the permanent highway. That's a possibility, I guess. Through that process, you'd capture, okay, you're residential or you're going commercial and you're getting more light vehicles that would dictate the road changing. You can capture the money through that. The fact that this property was for sale and was purchased and changed to industrial just tells me there's no interest, and there's a strong demand for residential out there. There's no interest in residential going along this road right now.
No, I did inquire when that was up for sale, and there was no desire to have it go to residential because of this location and all of
Yeah,
that.
you got train tracks, your next door storage unit, you're looking out at the permanent highway essentially. I know there's a demand for housing. I'm doing a lot of housing projects, but this is not a location necessarily right now for housing. A lot of things would have to change on that, all those surrounding properties. What are some examples of commercial vehicles? These are pictures you can see from like Manitoba Hydro. I've taken around Winnipeg. The one in the center is used for tree cutting. Devos Road has dust abatement on Devos Road. Yes, they've done it this year a couple times in September and July. So there's this dust control was completed twice by Public Works here. Devos Road doesn't connect to any other roads. It's Pembina Highway. Sandpiper Drive stops there. It doesn't connect. I don't even think too many people actually walk across there. There's a little bit of a pathway there. But there's really basically large commercial vehicles running up and down Devos Road during the daytime. So I can't see too many people. I didn't see anybody walking around there. Again, I'm not out there 24/7. So maybe in the evenings or something like that, but it's pretty limited. So even putting in a sidewalk, I'm not sure where people are necessarily walking along Devos Road to get to and from Pembina Highway. That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions?
I guess I'll ask the public service if other properties have money on hold or in retention for a road. Are you familiar?
My client wasn't aware of his other property having it, but I didn't solicit or speak to the other two owners, whether they had put money in, but I'll let the public service answer that. Perhaps they have, but I just recall driving by there. I've driven down the permanent highway like probably a million times, like any other Winnipegger since the late 70s with my parents. I always remember seeing, light industrial along there.
Okay, I don't have any questions.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Take that folder.
Oh yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Okay, so we're done delegations. Now we're going to do reports. Now, if I could I have one of the other counselors take the chair for a moment while I do the first assistant member appointment?
Okay.
Okay. For the citizen member appointment, Grants Old Mill, St. James, the Assiniboine Pioneer Association. In the past, or more recently, they've had some difficulty achieving quorum. And primarily the reason for that is because they have 12 members on their board. And I would like to reduce it. And therefore, I have a motion to reduce the number from 12 to 8, which is more normal throughout all the committees or all the associations. So, whereas the St. James Assiniboine Pioneer Association Incorporated, Grants Old Mill Board was established to manage, control, and operate the Grants Old Mill and all other buildings or premises used for the purpose of the St. James Assiniboine Pioneer Association. And whereas the terms of reference approved by council on November 14th, 2012 allowed for the appointment of up to 8 citizen members. And whereas on January 30th, 2020, council approved an amendment to the terms of reference for the St. James Assiniboia Pioneer Association Incorporated Grantsville Mill to allow for the appointment of up to 12 citizen members. And whereas the increase in members appointed to the board can make it more difficult to achieve quorum for meetings, therefore it be resolved that the following be recommended to the EPC and council, that the terms of reference St. James Assiniboia Pioneer Association Incorporated Grantsville Mill be amended to allow for the appointment of up to 8 citizen members, that the following citizens be appointed to the St. James Assiniboia Pioneer Association Incorporated Grantsville Mill for a two-year term to expire December 31st, 2026. And that would be Andrew Amy and Tiffany Evans. That's my motion.
Okay, so you want to reduce it from 12 to 8?
Yes, because currently with 12, you need 7 members to have a majority and to have quorum.
Right,
But if you reduce it to 8, you only need 5.
5, right. Right, that's a lot, 12.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, oh, are you chair? Who's chair?
Go ahead.
Okay, shall I be chair? All right, I'm chair. All right, any questions?
Do we know how many members there are now?
Currently, there are 5 members because there were 7 open members and they only 2 people came forward. So if we the 5 plus 2 would be 7 out of 8, and that would make it relatively simple for them to get quorum.
Okay, so you're going up to 7.
Yeah, we're going up to
Okay.
7 from 5.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you one of the members?
No. As a counselor, I would be considered a voting person, I believe. So I could show up and I could be 1 extra.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay, so that's the motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right.
Okay.
Oh,
Could I have the chair back?
yes, I will give you the chair back. All right,
You want?
all right.
Item number 2, amendment to council conditions for the rezoning land located at 101 DeVos Road, parcel plan 7, plan 10-450 WLTO and RL 101 to 103 Parish of St. Norbert. Now, if I can get the public service to perhaps comment on this item.
Sure. So the public service recommended the condition to be consistent with our Winnipeg League communities. Contrary to the presentation, all new development proposals that intensify beyond the existing use must provide the full range of municipal services. It doesn't really, there is no differentiation between industrial, commercial, and residential. The requirement is for all intensification. This is currently, the land across the street and to the south has been historically industrial. It was grandfathered in when Unicity or when Winnipeg formed, and it received its zoning rights back then. So they never come up for a rezoning. So, it's true, we've never been able to collect for it. However, for the cul-de-sac, it's clear that a condition was put in place to have the cul-de-sac built out of concrete with curb and gutter to match the expected road
At the end of DeVos.
at the end of DeVos.
Yeah,
As well as we have had one other rezoning come forward in which we collected and are holding for the future.
and which one was that?
That was the Ladco.
Which property was rezoned?
It was the Ladco that closed the road, so the residential, the big subdivision to the north.
Right, so
So they have some fronting on the road. And
I'm
we-
just trying to find which piece that is. That skinny, tiny little piece at the end of DeVos, I guess.
Yeah.
So funding has been put in trust for
Is in the future services,
future service
that section.
for that one section. Any other sections?
We don't have any other sections, but it is, again, the public service does expect this road to eventually become an urban cross section in concrete. And if we are not collecting while properties are intensifying,
Right.
such as zoning from rural residential RR5
Right.
to an M1, it would end up falling onto the city to pay for the upgrades.
Right,
And consistent with, as I mentioned, our Winnipeg and complete communities, this is really our opportunity to collect.
right,
We would be holding a letter of credit for it, or we could take payment. Either way, we are happy to deal with either way. And again, yeah. That's kind of where it sits.
so what happens, who pays for the section east of the rail line? That neither the Sentinel place or the hotel place have access to, but are on the side?
So again, like when a capital works project comes forward, Public Works would ask for the capital to.
Even if they don't access it? They have no
Sorry.
access to it?
Public Works would pick up the difference.
Oh, Public Works would pick up the difference, so the city would pick up the difference.
But
Right.
again, we try to keep that difference as low as we can so that it's feasible and viable.
Right, right. And I guess you've been sitting on the property at the end, it was Ladco, you said? I mean, that, like
It's not,
that's
it's quite old.
tiny little bit, yeah, that development's like 25, 30 years old, right?
80s.
Yeah, okay. And this is like redoing old Charleswood, right? Gravel roads too. So what happens in a case like Charleswood? Which is all gravel roads, like when if it's on like, I guess, a residential road, like let's say that one
Okay.
Oakdale, what happens to that?
So Oakdale, again, the public service recommended to do the improvements with the curb and gutter.
Right,
The north of Roblin, that section was done wherever they rezoned and intensified.
right,
It's pretty consistent. For some of the ones that are a little bit further south of Wilkes, we have a clause where it's pay for the oiling and grading in oiling and graveling in for the future for maintenance of the gravel roads, but that's for really low intensification, and that's where the secondary plan actually allows it. So the secondary plan gives an exception to the South Wilkes area that they do not need a full range of municipal services.
Mhm.
Whereas this is within a recent community, this is a separated system. So this is, again, following our Winnipeg, we should require the cost of the road upgrades.
Mhm. 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 So tell me about the oiling and graveling again.
So there's a clause that we put on the short forms when they come forward, but generally these are for large estates. So they have a large frontage and it's a single family home.
Right,
And they do a subdivide to get 2 houses in.
got it.
And there's a clause where it's put in. I can read it to you if you wish.
Right.
Uh,
So if we wanted to, could we put that on here?
Yeah. The developer shall pay to the city in cash on demand their share of the cost of the following services. No, sorry, that's the one. Developer shall prepay its share of the cost of perpetual oiling and graveling of DeVos Road for the full length of planned area abutting DeVos Road as determined by the Director of Public Works. So it's paying for the graveling, the maintenance and the oiling.
So that's already in there, is what you're
No,
saying?
that is not.
Oh.
That is
You just-
something that we that is an option you could put in there.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay, question
Councillor Duncan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just heard a couple times reference of a cul-de-sac.
at the end of it. It's a round turnaround.
So, just run that by me again. The plan is to make a cul-de-sac?
There's a turnaround at the west limit and it is built in concrete already.
There's a turnaround already.
At the end,
Concrete.
see here.
Okay.
With curb and gutter and urban cross section.
Yeah.
And what would be the purpose of this road in the future for development? What, like, are they gonna stay
Like
in?
gravel is not really ideal, especially for heavy trucks. They beat the crap, it gets a lot of wear and tear. And it needs a fair bit of maintenance. It needs a fair bit of dust control. It
Yeah.
needs a fair bit of gravel. So concrete is really a nice hard surface where the trucks can run without creating nuisance dust, and we don't have to maintain.
I'm just gonna throw this out about concrete and asphalt. You know what? There's no rhyme or reason to concrete and asphalt in the city. When I speak to Public Works, they are putting in on, let's say, the Waverly Underpass, which is a very busy route. Let's say, Corridon Avenue, let's say, Furmore Avenue to the perimeter. Some are asphalt, some are concrete. You're saying this funding would be a concrete, like a guaranteed concrete?
No, I'm
Yeah.
not, sorry, I'm not saying it's a guaranteed
Got it.
concrete. I'm saying it be a hard pavement surface.
Sure.
Our typical development obligation is for concrete. However, you know, as you mentioned, even Bison was done in asphalt.
Yes.
It really depends on the circumstance and how it's being constructed. And I know Public Works is currently investigating or continually investigating using asphalt on developments.
Go ahead, Councilor Duncan.
Who put in the turnaround here in concrete?
I believe it was Lyco.
When they did their housing
They
development,
did their housing.
because they ended up, there's a little piece of property at the end. Whoops.
There's-
Maybe wrong, but it looks like it was done in 2000.
But there's no residential that it has access to?
Again, the concrete is not a residential standard, it's an intensification standard. If you're doing more than large estates, more than RR5, the expectation is you go to the urban standard.
I know, but we heard from the applicant, they're just saying that there's no access to this for any residential, it's just the industrial use here.
Yep, but again, there is no correlation between residential and needing a concrete road. It's the intensification of the zoning. They are currently rural zoned, and they're asking to be zoned as a M1. That increases their ability, that increases their zoning rights, that increases what they can do with their property, that increases the value of their property.
But what I'm hearing though is that if you change the zoning, you have to upgrade the.
Period.
Period. Okay.
Nothing to do with
So
residential.
whomever it was that came in and did a development here, I'm hearing this live code.
Yeah.
Had to put in this roundabout or a turnaround to nowhere.
In
essentially,
concrete, correct,
In concrete. And we were enforcing that
through a development agreement.
in what year-ish?
It looks like it was constructed in 2000-ish,
Okay. So in 2000, we made
you know, give or
ish
take.
live code do a turnaround for future development. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, again, the obligation is to construct your piece, your fronting.
Yeah.
So this was probably a compromise where this was the most logical place to have them construct it.
Okay.
Like, again, if the proponent wanted to construct their fronting in concrete, would be open to that, but it would be a lose-lose. It would not be a reasonable request of them because their costs would be doubled and the chance of their recuperation minimal.
And the public service, just so I'm clear here, is asking for the surface to be upgraded from which point to which point?
We are asking for payment to be held until the surface is upgraded. So it would be the entire road and this the city would be picking up whatever pieces were missing at the time that it's upgraded. However, we would hold money in trust or they could buy out the obligation at this time.
Because it's one of these things where if we don't get it now,
We'll never know.
unless there's some sort of caveat put on title.
Even a caveat put on title, like it would be the chances of them coming forward to rezone again, as the proponent mentioned, is pretty low. Right? This has been M1. It has you know, it has a traffic noise right against the perimeter. It's not a highly desirable place to do residential. So chances are it's gonna remain M1, but that doesn't mean the level of service or the service standards shouldn't be consistent across the board.
But if there is a caveat, sorry, Mr. Chair, if I may, if there is a caveat on title, it just continues with whoever owns the land. And then whenever the call goes out from the city to upgrade the surface, then they'd be responsible for it legally, right?
But again, that's pretty much what we're doing. The obligation doesn't follow the land though, it follows the rezoning rights. So because the land currently is zoned RR5, as you increase the land value, as you increase the land zoning, that is the consideration, as in the you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I actually have a question. So my question was, on that street right now, is there money set aside to improve it?
Yes, but it's limited from what we collected in the 80s.
Yeah, well, it would be for that one little area that was collected.
Again, it is, Public Works has confirmed that they expect the road to eventually be an urban cross section and somebody's gonna have to pay for it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So what we would do is we would write the development agreement, we would take a letter of credit, we would not ask for the money right up front, and we would hold the letter of credit. Until
So you wouldn't take the money up front, you just hold the
our
letter.
preference would be to take the letter of credit and sit on that until the road's up.
Right. So the letter of credit, okay.
But again, if they wanted to buy it out, we could work that out.
When you say buy it out, what do you mean by that?
It would be, we would invoice at today's rates for the construction.
Oh, at today's rate. Okay. Okay, so do you have any other questions?
No, I don't have any
Okay,
questions.
I'll make a
Anything else?
motion, this has to go up to council, and I'll make a motion that, because there's limited vehicle access, there's no residential, there's only industrial, there's no commercial or residential on site. I'll make a motion to have the developer pay for gravel and oil. I'm not sure how to word that though.
So would it be appropriate, Kevin, if the counselor moves that the recommendation not be concurred in and that the condition in the developer obligations under file DAZ, the ACG condition with respect to DeVos Road be replaced with the wording that was sent? So the developer shall prepay its share of the cost of perpetual oiling and graveling of DeVos Road for the full length of the planned area abutting DeVos Road as determined by the Director of Public Works. So deleting the current condition.
Correct.
And replacing it with, I assume it's the same title, DeVos Road,
Yeah.
but replacing the language.
Yeah.
Okay, but just let me ask you this. So when you say perpetual, what if the person sells it? Like, how can you, well, it's perpetual, like that's like 700 years. I don't like that word perpetual.
Yeah, I don't either. My understanding is it's prepay, so you're doing a one-time contribution. But it's perpetual, it takes into account.
But how do you determine what that one-time contribution is?
Angie, do you know? The perpetual oiling clause.
Like, that word perpetual is not, I don't like that.
I can get back to you on that. Like I said, we do this for the area South Wilkes. That's where I found the wording. I can get back to you on how it's done. I'm not,
Right, but
On how
so
they
do we,
figure out
lay
math.
do we lay it over or do we wait to hear back? Or do we let you go in, come back and we deal with it at the end of that public hearing? Because I actually have two motions that I didn't really finish writing up that I'd like to put on the agenda.
whatever you like. I think I hopefully can get you an answer fairly quick.
Okay, so we'll just kind of put this in hold.
I don't think that it'll be perpetually because my understanding is the granular roads, we'll call them, are just under streets maintenance. So it's a part of the budget there. It's not something that, my understanding, that any particular property owner pays perpetually.
Again, the expectation is as you intensify, like, it's hard to maintain gravel roads for very intense uses and we can't do it all over. But again, let me check. I can get you an answer.
Okay, so we'll let him check. We'll put this on hold, right?
Okay, so we're gonna lay it over till the next meeting?
No,
Or what are we doing?
so we'll just go on to the next agenda item and maybe he'll come back with an answer before our public hearing.
Okay.
And if he doesn't, then we'll leave the agenda open till after the public hearing and wind it up after the public hearing. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so item 3.
Item number 3. Amendment to development agreement, AG 15/2022-230 University Coast.
Okay, perfect. Okay, these guys. All right. Can you just sort of give us a little rundown here?
Sure. So University, 230 University, also previously known as Sunwood Golf Course, rezoned in 2022. Their service report and design at the time had indicated that they weren't doing any public service installations, including down Markham Road.
Any what? Public service?
They weren't installing a sewer or a water main down Markham.
Got it. Right,
So we weren't authorized
Right.
to accept it.
right.
However, they've looked at their servicing and it makes sense to them and us
Yes.
to have both a wastewater sewer and a water main down in Markham.
Right.
And it allows their time, it allows them to juggle over what pieces of property they develop.
Right.
So again, it's a very small amendment just to
Right.
allow them to construct a water main and wastewater sewer for us.
Perfect. Perfect. And they're fine with this? They want this and the city's fine with this? Yes?
Is fine with this as well.
Okay. All right. Okay. No, that's great. Let's keep these guys moving. So, do you want to call the motion?
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry,
Uh,
Counselor, you're moving that the public service recommendation be concurred in?
I am.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye, motion's carried.
Okay.
Item number 4, extension of time, plan of subdivision and rezoning 398 Elmhurst Road, file number DASZ 17/22, 2022.
I'd like to hear from the public service on this. Last time it came up, I questioned what the holdup is, and my same question would be of that.
Yeah, you're more familiar with this file? There we go.
If I may, Chair,
Okay, hello.
Angie Savage, Land Development. Council approved this plan of subdivision to create one infill residential building lot and rezone it to a R1M PDO airport vicinity. The applicant had 2 years to enact the necessary bylaw and they're requesting a 6-month extension to do so. So the public.
Extension of time, 6 months.
Yes, yeah, to enact the bylaw. Once they enact their bylaw, they have 1 year to complete registration process of the entire application.
Can you explain what that means, enact the bylaw?
So when they apply for their subdivision and rezoning, they're required to enact a bylaw in order to proceed further with their application. The bylaw is the official document that allows them to proceed, and it outlines the coming into force provisions of that application. The coming into force provisions will outline whether or not they have to enter into any agreements and what has to be registered and what the plan has to look like. Once enactment occurs, we can go forward with approving their legal plan mylars and executing their agreements, and they can complete their registration process, thus completing the application. So they're asking for a 6-month extension to be able to enact that application, which means they're likely working with their surveyor right now to try and get those legal plan mylars completed. Sometimes they have to submit them to they always have to submit them to LTO for pre-review, and sometimes that can take longer than usual. And that's likely the reason why you're asking for this extension for enactment, because once those mylars come out for review, then they can come to the city for our review. Those mylars are a requirement of bylaw enactment.
So Okay, so this is for residential single family
Yes.
medium. Again, I'm not really fully understanding what's the issue with getting an application in for, and it looks like the reason that this is the top of mind for myself is that we did this in September already. Providing a further extension.
Yes. Like I said, it's likely because they haven't had their surveyor complete those milars yet. So if we don't approve the extension of time, then the application will die. And they'll have to come back to us and reapply for a new application, which they would lose out on thousands of dollars with this application.
Yeah, I mean, I'm empathetic to that, but at the same time, the council adopted this in July of 2022, so. I mean, there's time limits set in place for a reason.
I agree. Yeah. But we have a handful of applications that are like this, especially if it's not a seasoned developer and they're walking through the steps slowly. There could also be unforeseen issues such as hydro easements or other public utilities. So we're usually sympathetic to those applications at the onset. It hasn't been that long. It's only been a couple of years. So that's why the public service is in support of allowing the extension and recommending approval.
So in their letter, they state that they have completed the Mylar documents and lot grading and service plans. So.
But that means that they've completed them on their end and that it's likely with TerraNet and their surveyor for their pre-approval. The city has not received those Mylars yet. And we only receive them once TerraNet has applied a deposit number and given the approval.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. I have some other comments, but if there's any other questions.
Yeah.
Um,
Go ahead.
I mean, I've seen lots of situations where they've come forward and asked for more time because I've seen all kinds of things. A partner dies, they need to get the financing, there's something, partnerships change. I mean, this is for more housing, right? So it's a lot split, right? It was a lot split? Infill lot split. So, I don't recall ever seeing any turned down. I had asked at one point, when I had that come to me actually for a very big development at the end of a street in my ward. And I don't know, are they ever turned down? The extensions turned down? They told me at that time never, but I don't know.
I've been preparing these reports for 16 years and I have not seen one turned down. I mean,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Angie. Okay. I don't have any questions.
All right, no more questions. Anybody have a motion?
I don't know that I'd be supportive of providing a 6-month extension. I'd like to have this come back as soon as possible to get it done. I'm not sure, like 6 months on top of the other extension, we're looking at now 3 years on a 2-year timeline. I don't know that that's reasonable.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to throw this in there just because I'm just going to throw it in there. You know, the economy has been kind of wild in the development world with interest rates. And I had a big developer basically had to refinance his whole project on Waverly. They dropped 2 stories just because of the interest rates and financing. Now, I know this is only a lot split, but I don't know. I'm supportive of more housing and keeping the thing going, so. But it's your area and you're getting the calls if there's calls, so.
Okay, so what's the motion? I understand you want it less than 6 months.
Can it happen in less than 6 months?
it's possible if it comes out of land titles.
You can do up to, oh, it's at land title, so that's good luck, okay.
I'm assuming that's where it is. And we typically, when they apply, but usually extensions are for 1 year. So when they apply just for 6 months, we typically reach out to them and sort of mention, pretty sure to 1 year. They were insisting on 6 months. So I'm assuming that they think they're close with the 6 month period. I'm not sure if 3 months would suffice.
Okay, so normally they would normally ask for a 1 year extension, but they've only asked for 6 months, and that's one of the reasons why you're recommending it.
Correct.
Okay. I can't make a motion here.
Sorry, if you've registered, you don't need to fill that out. But if you haven't registered,
Registered online. I registered online because I didn't, but I'm not getting my Zoom. So it's okay. If there were to be a lesser amount of time given and they come back, they can always request another extension.
They can, yes, that's correct.
Okay, I would move that the Olympic Public Service recommendation be amended to allow for time limit to be provided for enactment of the necessary rezoning bylaw under file number DASZ 17/2022 to be extended to the whatever our May meeting would be.
like the May council meeting.
The May, I would assume that this would be for the Assiniboia Community.
This has to go up to council.
What does this date refer to? July 21, 2025 then?
So that is the date that council originally approved the application and they had 2 years to enact. So,
No, they're asking for an extended to July 21, 2025.
yeah, so they would have had to, that is the 6 month from the 2 years that originally council approved.
But the 2 years was in 2022.
No, the 2 years would have been in 2021 or. No.
On July 21st, 2022, council adopted item number 11 of the report of the Executive Policy Committee dated July 13, 2022.
Yes, sorry, you are correct.
Okay.
So when they are asking for July 21st of 2025. Also, they did request a year.
There has been, yeah. This is year 3 now. Whatever the May meeting was.
Angie, does it need to be the 21st? Like, I think the councilor's intent is May, so
That's fine.
May
It could
21st,
be any
2025.
date. Yeah, council can choose any date.
Thank you.
Okay. That's your motion?
Yeah, and then the other recommendation as written.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion's carried.
Okay, so we have no more items, right?
No, well, we're gonna come back to number
Are we ready for you?
Yeah, it's a one-time payment. I don't know the rate, but it's a one-time payment.
There you go.
It's a one-time payment.
So it's a prepaid for
Got it.
the.
So how do we word that in there?
I provided the wording.
Great, okay,
You can read it.
yeah, that'd be great to read it.
The developer shall prepay its share of the cost of perpetual oiling and graveling of DeVos Road for the full length of the planned area of budding DeVos Road as determined by the Director of Public Works.
Okay,
Okay, so that's item number 2, amendment to the council conditions, rezoning land. For 101 DeVos Road.
okay, let's put that
So-
forward.
And just to confirm with the public service and the mover, so the intent is to not concur in the recommendation of the public service, to recommend to the SPC on P&D that the following amendment to the developer obligations under file DAZ 2010 of 2024 be approved. A deletion of the clause titled DeVos Road in its entirety from the report of the administrative coordinating group, replacing it with a clause titled DeVos Road with the same language that Kevin had provided earlier.
Mhm, mhm.
Is that right?
Is that your motion then?
That's my motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion's carried.
Okay. So 2 minutes for the public hearing.
Okay, so we'll pause for the public hearing in 2 minutes or so.
Okay.
Morning, everyone. This is Assiniboia Community Committee. The hearings portion. Today is Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. I am Councillor Dobson, the chairperson. We have with us Councillors Duncan and Lukes. We have with us our clerk, Ms. Cohen, and we have a couple of members from the public service. I would also right now like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty One territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland and Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. And now I will pass it on to our clerk.
In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, the process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application. Next, those registered or in opposition are heard, followed by those registered for information. Finally, the applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made. However, no new information is permitted. Please note that when your name is called, it is your opportunity to speak. However, you are not obligated to do so. For a more in-depth overview of the public hearing process and other information pertaining to what happens before, during, and after a public hearing, please consult the City Clerk's Department website. Please note that all public hearings are recorded and will be part of the public record. Should you have any questions after the hearings have concluded, please contact the City Clerk's Department. Item 1 is a subdivision and rezoning at 4055, 4075, and 4077 Portage Avenue under file DAS SED 43 of 2024. The process, all participants have been muted and will only be permitted to speak when called upon. Once you have been heard, you can either remain in the Zoom meeting or leave and continue to watch live via the city's YouTube channel. If any Zoom participants are currently watching the live meeting on YouTube, please mute the YouTube audio now. And I'll look to the planner to give a brief overview of the application.
Yes, thank you, Madam Clerk. So this subject site is on the north side of Portage Avenue at the intersection of two private streets, Racetrack Road and Stuart Millet Way. This is in the Assiniboia Downs neighborhood of the Charleswood, Tuxedo, and Westwood ward. The total site area is approximately 16.4 acres and is currently made up of two separate lots. A lot 10, which has a lot area of about 15.5 acres and is zoned C4 under the Westport Festival Plan Development Overlay. And then there is part of a lot that has a lot area just to the north of lot 10, which has a lot area of approximately 0.9 acres and is currently zoned A agricultural and is outside of the Westport Plan Development Overlay area. The subject area is under Complete Communities Direction Strategy, designated as a transformative area, a regional mixed-use center policy area. And the applicant today is proposing to consolidate the portion of land to the north of Lot 10 with Lot 10, and then rezone the entire site to the C4 zoning district under the Westport Festival Plan Development Overlay. Plans submitted show that the proposed consolidation and rezoning will accommodate additional land for parking and loading areas associated with a proposed one-story commercial building. This commercial building, which will contain a Costco wholesale store, is currently under construction on Lot 10. Access to the site is to be taken from a private street, Stuart Millet Way, on the north side of the site, from private drive aisles that connect the two private streets as well. And the applicant proposes, as part of this application, there's a consolidation, a rezoning as well. There's an amendment to the map of the Westport Festival Plan Development Overlay. This small portion of land just to the north will be included within that overlay area. That's my summary. Happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Councilors?
We're having a parking at Costco.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Questions?
Yeah, thank you. Can we just clarify entrances and exits to the property?
Yeah, sure. So there's the entrances to the property will remain as they were shown. There was a variance, I think, last summer, but to clarify, there is private approach from private roads. One of those roads is Stuart Millet Way on the north side of the site. And then there's two private approaches shown on south side of the site, an east-west private road. I don't yet have a name for that private road, but there's two approaches shown. One would access a gas park kind of at the southeast corner of the site, and then another is more oriented towards the Costco store itself and the parking areas beside it.
Just, most of the community being excited about this. The only concerns that I have heard back were, as we see at the McGilvery location, just the backup of traffic. And I just wanted to hear from the public service that has been acknowledged and mitigated as best as possible.
Yeah, this is quite a. I don't have the size of the two sites in front of me as comparison, but this is quite a large site. These are private drive aisles, so it's a busy operation. This is anticipated to be a busy operation.
It will be, yeah.
But given the access points that do exist, it's our view that those congestions or tie-ups or queuing into private drive aisles would not happen, just given the layout of the site and the access points that do exist.
Okay. So if there are no other questions, first we'll hear from the applicant, John Pearson, who's joining us via Zoom today. John, we've just asked you to start your video, and you can unmute yourself, and you have up to 10 minutes for your presentation. You'll just need to unmute yourself there. You just need to unmute yourself, John.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Could you also allow Brennan Pearson in at the same time? Is that?
Sorry, John, you're really quiet. We're having trouble hearing you. Is it possible to get closer to the microphone?
Sure. Is that better now?
No.
A sec.
Can you try again and maybe just really project?
Okay. My name is John Pearson. Is that better?
It's very, very soft. So
This is your chance to yell at city councilors. Go, John.
I'd like to say that I'm a soft-spoken man, so I'll leave it there. But my presentation is going to be quite short, but I am available for questions. Robert Golston did a great job on the intro. The administrative report was. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
it's quite soft. Can you really project? Sorry.
Okay. My name is John Pearson, and I'm here today on behalf of Costco in regard to the rezoning subdivision application in front of us. Can you hear?
Yes, please proceed, John.
Okay. So we're pleased to be here, councillors, administration. I appreciate you taking our application today. And I want to compliment the city administration on the quality of their report and Robert Golston's introduction. As a result of that, I don't have a major presentation. I only have a few points that I want to relate to. The report had a couple of minor typos, which I want to point out, and I'd like to do that first. First one is on page 16 of the report. And it references the paragraph on top of the page. The second last word says residential. It should be commercial. I think this was taken from a generic report as opposed to the specific situation. So that's just a minor typo on the report. Secondly, on page 18, there's a reference to 45%, etc. on dedication. And that's not the way dedication is being calculated in this case, as per the recommendation at the beginning of the report. And I'll draw your attention to number 4 in the recommendations of the report, where it talks about it being 10% of the value. And I want to make one further comment in that regard. The subject rezoning we're dealing with right now is a 0.93 acre parcel that needs to be rezoned. That is being attached to a larger parcel, which is approximately 15.45 acres. And the dedication, I want to make the statement, and I'm hoping to gain your support.
Sorry, maybe John, just hold on one sec. We're having some audio issues in the room.
Okay.
Could you try again?
Okay, I'm on number 4 of the recommendation page.
Maybe hold on one sec, John. Yeah, I think we're just gonna need to recess. Sorry, everyone. We'll just take a brief.
Okay.
Okay, we're back again. We were just off for a technical difficulty and away we go. Go ahead, John.
Okay, so I'm back onto the recommendation page. Item number 4 of the administration report. And it talks about dedication being 10% of the value. I wanted to make the request that the value we're dealing with should be based on the 0.93 acre portion that is being rezoned and subdivided and added to the existing Westport Lot 10, which is already zoned, was already subdivided, and had already paid dedication fees. And so that the dedication would only apply to the 0.93 acres. Could you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So that, having made those 3 comments, those are the only comments we have on the administration report. Otherwise, again, we're accepting it and appreciate how thorough and organized it was. And no need for a lengthy presentation, but I know there were some questions about access. I'd be more than pleased to expand on that if that becomes necessary as a question.
Okay, Councillor Duncan, would you like to ask that question?
It's been answered.
Okay, no, we appear to be okay with the access portions.
Okay, and I, on that point, I know you're okay with it, but I just want to expand and say we have 3 access points on Portage Avenue. There's Festival Drive, which will be our dominant access. There's a right in, right out that's already constructed between the 2 signals, Festival Drive, Racetrack Road. And then we have a road in behind Stuart Millette that connects Racetrack and Festival Drive. So it has excellent access as compared to other Costco's in Winnipeg. More parking, better access, twice as many gas bar positions, and it's an excellently laid out site.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you, John. That is actually what I was looking for. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. Councillor Duncan.
I have one question, and it's going to involve the public service, of course. The public service, did you catch the items that John had mentioned that
Yeah. With respect to those typos or information that was included in the report in error, that was brought to our attention. We had the agenda has been republished with those items corrected. Those are items that were there and they weren't supposed to be. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's great. Thank you. And thank you very much, John. Any other questions from the councillors? No other questions. Thank you very much for your presentation.
So the next is Brennan Pearson to be heard in support of the application. So Brennan, we're just asking you to start your video now. And you'll have up to 10 minutes for your presentation. and you can proceed.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, after following that, there's not much to be said. So thank you all. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
Oh, that was, thank you very much. Very short presentation.
Keep it quick.
Any questions from the councillors? No, we're good. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay, so just confirming that there's no one else in the gallery in support of this application. Okay, we have no one you're appearing in support?
I'm in support, but just here for information. Art Rogerson from the member of the city.
Okay, so you'll need to register. Okay, just 1 moment, please.
Are you in support or? Support, and you're just here for information. I didn't support the other.
Okay. Your registration, please. You're not for information.
Well, I have.
I only asked about that because I couldn't hear the first one.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The hearing's not great.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just, what did he say?
Yeah.
But as long as you got it, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so Garth Rogerson is here in support of the application, but is elected not to speak, confirming that there's no one here in opposition to the application that hasn't registered online in advance. Okay, no one else looking to speak with respect to the application. Okay, so if there are questions for the public service?
Questions from me? Councillor Duncan?
I'm almost certain that this has been clarified in the edits that were made, but just for the applicant's assurance, the cash payment only applied to the 0.93 acres has been amended. I believe that looking at the wording there, it's pretty straightforward that it only applies to the part of the small parcel there.
The wording of the condition is that it's as determined by the director. So I can let Kevin speak to that further, but it's kind of a pretty standard. So if my understanding is if they've paid already for some portion of this site, then they wouldn't need to pay all over.
We recently had something like this where there was a payment made in the past, so they don't have to pay again.
Pay once, as long as they paid within the last 30 years, they would only pay for the portion they haven't paid. That's outstanding. We just need to confirm and do we would have to contact their surveyor just to confirm the.
But just so we.
But it's
All
standard
our I's
wording.
across all our T's, payment has been made within the last 30 years.
Again, I need to dig up the report.
Yes, we have. And you said, I'm saying, yes, it has. Okay, great. There we go. That's all I want. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. So technically the applicant is entitled to speak in rebuttal to comments made. So John, if you have any comments in rebuttal to what you heard, but no new information is permitted at this point.
No further comments, other than, again, appreciate how fluid the process went with the city administration and their thoroughness in the report. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Okay, do we have a mover?
Yes, sir. I will move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move
Motion carried.
that the receipt of the public representations be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
That the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in. And that it be forwarded to the Executive Policy Committee via the priority rezoning process. And my supporting reasons for this are that it was a good working dialogue between the public service and the applicants. That this parcel of land will be developed as a cornerstone of the grounds. And that this is of public interest to see the retailer be completed and opened as soon as possible.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried.
And I will move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried.
Please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council. No further representations are permitted, and all persons registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council. Item 2 is a subdivision and rezoning at 669, 645, 655, and 639 Sterling Lion Parkway under file DASZ 38 of 2024. In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, this is a combined hearing and the following item will also be heard at the same time. Namely, item 3 is a variance at 669, 645, 655, and 639 Portage Avenue under file DAB 221094 of 2024D. Please note an additional communication was received in support of the matter after the agenda was published, which has been distributed to all members of the committee. All participants have been muted and will only be permitted to speak when called upon. Once you have been heard, you can either remain in the Zoom meeting or leave and continue to watch live via the city's YouTube channel. If any Zoom participants are currently watching the live meeting on YouTube, please mute the YouTube audio now. We'll look to the planner to give a brief overview of the application.
Thank you. So the subject properties are located on the north side of Sterling Lion Parkway. This is part of the Seasons mixed use site and is located in the Tuxedo Industrial neighborhood of the Charleswood Tuxedo Westwood ward. The site is approximately 11.9 acres in size and contains currently 4 separate commercial buildings and accessory parking areas. As well, some of the site is vacant land. The subject properties are located in a regional mixed use center under Complete Communities Direction Strategy 2.0. And the properties are currently zoned C4, Commercial Regional Zoning District. The applicant proposes to subdivide the subject properties into 5 separate lots, lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Of these lots, the proposed lots 2 and 4 are proposed to be rezoned to the CMU, Commercial Mixed Use Zoning District. And with respect to these proposed CMU lots 2 and 4, a total of 439 dwelling units are proposed. Specifically on proposed lot 2, there is proposed a 7-story multifamily building with 255 dwelling units and a total of 298 parking stalls provided on this site. On proposed lot 4, the applicant proposes a 7-story multifamily building with 184 dwelling units and a total of 185 parking stalls on this site. Access to these proposed multifamily lots will be taken from existing private approaches from the private streets within the Seasons site. No new private approaches from Sterling Lion Parkway are proposed. There are associated variances that are also being applied for as part of this application. The variance application includes variances to the zoning bylaw requirements, including the building side yard setbacks, the lot areas per dwelling unit. They're proposing 414 square feet and 471 square feet on each of the lots instead of the required 800 square feet. There's variances applied for the number of parking stalls. They are providing a total of 483 parking stalls on the 2 lots instead of the 659 required by the zoning bylaw. As well, they're applying for variances to parking area setbacks. The Winnipeg Public Service supports the subdivision and rezoning application and the associated variance application because the proposal is consistent with regional mixed use center policies under Complete Communities, which support multifamily development compatible with the surrounding area. The surrounding area is characterized by a mix of uses, including existing multifamily residential uses. And the site is located in close proximity to existing and future transit service and will connect to existing transportation networks and sidewalks within the Seasons development. That's my summary. Happy to answer any questions there may be.
Okay, councilors, any questions?
Not this time.
Very exciting. No, very exciting. This is another like the last one we had, really, basically, for this area. I mean, no, I think it's great. So I don't have any questions.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilor Dunn.
Will there be any requirements for the applicants to construct any type of additional infrastructure there? Whether it be roads or mixed use or multi-use paths or anything of that nature?
Believe there was requirements in the ACG report or considerations. I don't know if
They would need to pay their share for the cost of an AT path that will front the property. But there is no obligations to construct any infrastructure.
Okay. So help me understand why there's just now the cost for an AT or MUP in front on the north side of Sterling Lyon. Considering that the entirety of any other residential development to the northwest completed, no requirement, and the entirety of the commercial, as I understand, no requirement.
So due to the fragmented ownership, we went with pay your share. So we've been collecting the share for each property. This is actually the last piece of property that we are waiting for to get the share for, and then we would have the entire network. The obligation would be secured, and then we construct it.
Sterling Lion Park
So there is a pathway on the west limit already constructed,
right,
and then there's a pathway on the east limit at right at Keniston. And we also have online Chris Baker from Public Works, who is our AT.
Right,
So
okay.
we can discuss it in further detail.
perfect, let's do that. Chris.
Story was.
Oh, he's just entered the Zoom meeting. They're just talking about him.
Sorry, I should confirm with you.
That's okay.
Okay.
So we'll just wait until he gets on.
I think he's doing next
Sorry,
video.
Kevin, just to clarify, you're stating that the city has collected for multi-use pathway at every single
This is
portion along the
last
north
of the
side.
3 that we've done. I believe we did 3 last year alone,
I know, but this development's been going for how long now?
and this is the last piece.
Hey, let's hear that from him, because that's interesting. That's not my understanding, but
Thank you.
Hello, I've had some technical difficulties. Chris here. Are you looking for me?
yes.
Okay, and we're speaking about the path along the north side of Sterling Line. So you'll have to forgive me. I missed the last minute of what was said. Should I just explain the why this path has been included in the ACG report?
Yeah. Councilor.
Sure, and we really want to understand which sections you've got money that you've held for. Like, are you right all the way up to Keniston Boulevard?
Kevin, that would be a question from your end. I don't, my understanding is that the part of the Seasons development has this obligation for all the parcels as part of Seasons.
Double check that.
Like from, I don't know what that first intersection is. They don't seem to have a name on the street, but from Keniston to the first intersection, let's say by the McDonald's, that intersection. So you're saying you've got money on hold from Keniston on the north side of Sterling Lyon to that first intersection, and then you've got money from, I don't know, it looks like a chicken place, from that intersection all the way to, I don't know why these streets aren't named inside the development, but are they not named, like, to the next intersection? You
That's
got,
my understanding. Land development would have to confirm that.
I, that's news to me. I mean, that would be great, but like, you think you have money for that? So you're saying you do?
Yeah, my understanding is when Seasons and Tuxedo came forward, we took for everything that they parceled out. And then as the individuals came forward, we took the money then. So as I mentioned, we took 2 last year. This is the 3rd that we're waiting for.
So we're kind of getting different stories here. Okay, so factually then, you're telling me you have money from Keniston all the way through to what we're talking about today?
Maybe the western limits of the Seasons of Tuxedo property. So western limit being, I believe, at the end of the co-op grocery store.
Well, as I mentioned, there's a AT path at the western limit already constructed.
That starts there
Yeah.
and nothing else. Because I believe that's a different property owner that was
Yeah, it's
broken
not
off.
part of Stevens.
Right.
So that's your answer?
That's my understanding. I can drilling down as quick as I can.
That's okay.
But
Drill on.
as I mentioned, we collected twice last year for the other two
Mhm,
pieces that were similar to this.
Mhm.
So we do have a continuous piece.
When we say other two pieces, sorry to interrupt you there, Kev, do you have lot numbers or names that we can refer to just so we're not? So we're crystal clear on it?
I believe they were both on the other side of the they were on both sides of that private road. Now my computer is stalling on. No, what do you need? What were these two file numbers? Oh. No. I don't know. Yeah, so 28 of 24, sorry, DAS said 28 of 24, we had the obligation, and then the ASSF 515 of 24. So that's on either side of the right away going north, and then this person is adjacent to it.
Okay, so you're saying then you have funding from Keniston all the way through to what we're talking about today?
I will need to confirm what piece of one I would need to go to a 2008 file to double check. I also have asked, I might be able to get it right.
You want to take a 5-minute break?
That would be appreciated.
Okay.
So,
Okay, 5-minute break,
Break.
please.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We're back at the Assiniboine Community Committee. This is item number 2, subdivision and rezoning.
there we go.
So if there are additional questions for the public service?
Okay, so you can't get a number for us, so we don't know, right?
Yeah, we're holding securities for the properties, but I need to drill down and make sure what exactly those securities are for.
Mm-hmm.
So we can, at this time, I can only conclusively say we have for the 2 pieces of property that came forward last year to the west and, yeah.
So when you say you're holding securities, it's a letter of credit or what? So just explain the letter of credit. They have to be good for that, right? They're not putting money in the bank. They're just giving you a letter of credit or how does that work?
So the banks or credit unions will issue a letter of credit, charge them a rate based on what
Right.
their risk assessment is. And we hold it generally if we can call it without much justification. However, obviously, I think we only called maybe once every other year on somebody who is given multiple requests. However, it does affect their ability to borrow additional
Right.
money, so it's not ideal. But we also, on occasion, depending on the circumstances, have taken payouts or
Right.
buyouts at the existing rate.
So what about the option of, tell us how this works, is putting a caveat on the property that when everyone, instead of tying up their money, putting a caveat on that when you're ready to build it, then they pay.
I would suggest we should talk to Chris about what his Public Works about what their timeline is to build here. We have not been overly successful with the caveats on property. Their land titles doesn't like us registering non-agreements, so we would need an agreement. Therefore, we would need council to authorize us to enter into an agreement in order to register on title. I suppose if you wanted to give me some time, I could investigate how we could pursue that. However, it's not something we've typically done, and keeping things within our existing framework. Like one of the biggest problems here with this season sub tuxedo and 37 of 08 is that it's atypical.
say the least, how it was written and partitioned and all those little nuances.
Make drilling down complicated.
Okay, so let's hear from Chris here on a couple questions from Public Works.
Hello.
Hello, Chris. So do you have this pathway designed and any idea of what the budget is for it?
Well, we do not have it designed, no. It's all just in the obligation space at this moment.
Right, but you would have a ballpark idea of what this would cost just from the length of it in relation to your everyday work?
We do have high level, like class 5 estimates for what the asphalt would be if there's any ditch work that needs to be done, crossings of streets, that would require more work. That would require some actual design work and estimating, but we can do a lineal meter asphalt estimate, but again, that wouldn't be indicative of the total cost.
Okay. And then what if there is no funding in this first stretch from the 2008? What's the next one you've got was?
It would be the 2024 that's adjacent.
Right, but there's still, oh yeah, I see. Yeah, but there's still sections from, again, there's no, from let's say the Pizza Pronto Pizza to the chicken place, like that's all built out. Do you have funding for that section?
I would need to confirm the funding for the 140 meters off Keniston.
Right, so you don't know any of that yet. Oh my God. Okay. So, like I just have to say that I could count probably 5 or 6 different major corridors that have have an AT route on one side and not the other. So again, we're back to trying to build the other side also. But like, if you don't have funding in those sections, then what do? We just, then the city has to put the funding in?
It would be a capital.
It would be a public works. You know, of course we need lots of AT in the downtown, but we need so much of the downtown that nothing goes to the suburbs. Anyways. Okay. I know, you're not gonna answer that.
I think it's a much easier business case, so when you have 70% of the length paid for to fill in the 30% gap versus if you only have 40%.
Yeah, I'd argue that, but anyways, I hear what you're saying.
Okay, Councillor Duncan?
Yeah, again, I would prefer if we had actual numbers here of what has been paid for and what has not been paid for. I'm not counting 100 and whatever meters, like I'm doing a very rough length here, and from like on the one side from the westernly portion here, that's 500 plus meters alone that potentially has not been paid for. And then on the other side, from the easternly point to Keniston, we're talking about another 200 plus meters.
I got 224 and I got 144 on the east.
So you're counting for the entirety of the co-op grocery store.
Assuming that I'm not, that I don't have it, yes, that frontage would be 224 meters.
Frontage
Is coming from the west, going to the east. This would be the next frontage, and after that, we get the next two.
I'm sure that the applicant will probably have some opinion on this, I think. And maybe we can get some more clarity. I guess back to Chris there.
Yes.
For a scenario like this where we do have an MUP on the south side, would it be the priority of the city of Winnipeg to put another MUP on the north side? And how would that, sorry, multi-layered question, how would that be prioritized over these other corridors that only have MUP multi-use pathways on one side of the street. Like, I think we're a little behind on putting them on both sides. So now are we just adding to the inventory that is incomplete on both sides of the street? And how likely is it that we're actually going to put them on both sides here?
Yeah, multi-layered question. We are, I mean, a major arterial, it's 10 lanes. Sterling Line is 10 lanes, I believe, at Kenaston. That is a barrier for users. I mean, it's crossable. It's not a rail line or a river, but it's still not a comfortable space and a barrier. So we have been looking at paths on both sides of routes like this. As you say, we're maybe a little deficient in that. A good example is Kenaston, right north of Sterling Line. There's a path on both sides through the new underpass that was done. Same at the new underpass that was done at Waverly. But in this case, we prioritize our projects based on the Ped and Cycle program in the capital budget. That's the dedicated AT fund. So that's where we have to prioritize projects against each other, the downtown versus other places, etc. In this case, because our understanding is there's funding at play, then this wouldn't really be a prioritization process. The funding is there through these obligations, so we would, assuming that the funding is there and this one is funded as well, then we would look to build it.
Okay, so that's a great answer. I appreciate that. So once we get this sorted out, whether funding has been allocated by the developer in these other phases, if it has been and we're only missing these two pieces, then it would be completed once we receive payment for these. Because we've already collected all the other money. It would be prioritized.
Yeah, it would just be a matter of getting it designed and getting it into a construction tender. We usually group these in the road renewal program or for efficiency's sake. So it would just be a matter of the logistics of getting it done.
Okay. And then just one other question for you. In regards to the existing infrastructure there and the thoughtful pedestrian and cyclist network that runs through the Seasons of Tuxedo property already that connects to our MUP on Kenaston. So that would be on the west side of Kenaston, I don't know, 200 meters from the intersection of Sterling Lion Parkway. And then it connects into the entirety of the network that then connects to an existing multi-use path at the northwest corner of the Seasons of Tuxedo development. Would that not suffice as a network? I'm thinking, are we double doing our pedestrian and cyclist infrastructure here? Thoughts?
So you're saying, could we just use the network within the Seasons development as opposed to this path we're discussing on Sterling Line?
Well, it looks like that's what we do currently. Like, we physically have it tied in at the, I don't even know what to call it here, the branch off of Kenaston into the Seasons of Tuxedo. And then we have the path continue down Kenaston, but it definitely does connect in as it exists. Would we not just continue to use that? Or is it something that we should be looking at putting yet another path? I think it would potentially look like we have three paths now, one on the south, one on the north, and one middle of the gut of the Seasons of Tuxedo there.
Well, my understanding is this whole network was planned with this path on the north side. The network within the development is on private property. So it is, connectivity within the development to and from the right of way to the development. I guess people could cut through there if they wanted to, but I don't believe that's the intention as per it's on private property. It's also a bit of a circuitous route. If you're going into the mall, it's great, and it is a great network within that mall for sure. But it would be a bit circuitous for the traveling public who just wants to pass by the mall. Also, we already have the the investment in the path west of the mall on Sterling Line on the north side there. So this path would be capitalize on that investment and then provide even greater connectivity into the mall and into the mall's internal path network.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The committee ready to hear from the applicant? Okay, so first to speak is the applicant, Nathan Willem, who's joining us via Zoom today. Hi, Nathan. You have up to 10 minutes for your presentation.
Okay, Blair Forrester is also on the call and he's gonna take the lead from Seasons Retail Corp.
So you're sharing your 10 minutes together.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, that's correct. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you, members of City Council, members of administration. My name is Blair Forrester. I'm the president of Forrester Harbour Development Corp, president of Seasons Retail Corp, co-owner of the project, and I act as development manager on the site. We're here, Nathan and I are here primarily to answer any questions you have, as this is an extension of the application that you heard a few months back where we came in person to deliver the message to community committee. And Nigel Fergus is going to be giving you a more fulsome description of the project when he appears subsequent to our delegation. But I do want to reinforce that this is a continuation of our vision for an integrated mixed use project for Winnipeg. And I'll call this a world-class project for Winnipeg. We're incredibly proud of what we've delivered to date in the Seasons project. We've become an entry point for many new retail concepts in the Manitoba market and sometimes first in Western Canada. Our outlet collection Winnipeg, I believe, has become one of the top tourist destinations in the province. And this integration of residential into the project is basically that final phase of making it a true integrated master plan mixed use project. When we looked at the marketplace for a partner to implement this portion of the site, it became very clear that Paragon represented not only a best-in-class partner for us, but somebody that understood our vision. We've implemented an incredibly high architectural standard for the project, and in touring the balance of Paragon's projects in the marketplace, they really embrace that vision. They're also much like us. They're not a merchant builder. They're not building these projects to cap them out and flip them to a pension fund or a REIT at the end of the day. They're a long-term holder of real estate, and that provides a different level of oversight. When you're designing a project, you're focused on timeless design. You're focused on materials that don't require a bunch of upkeep and maintenance and over time. And we're very proud that they've selected our site to continue their residential expansion in the Winnipeg marketplace. I'm quite intrigued by the conversation that you all just had regarding this pathway. When we developed Seasons initially, there was a painstaking amount of time that went into the pedestrian and cycling network within our project. And I can tell you that it was always my expectation that the multi-use pathway and the sidewalk connectivity spines that were put in at the time of development were serving that role as the north side of Sterling Lion. We connected to Kenaston. It goes all the way through our project and then connects at the west end again back to Sterling Lion. Maybe selfishly, we wanted people within our project. We wanted them to drive by and experience the Seasons site. But I am unaware of any letters of credit or any contribution that the balance of our project has made to the north side pathway system. I'll have to check that out now that we've had this discussion, but it could have predated us. Michael Nozick was the original developer of the project, and maybe at the time of subdivision there was a contribution made. if that's the case, then these parcels have already contributed. If that didn't happen, I am unaware of any LCs or any contribution that we've made as we phased this out. So there was one payment made by Paragon on one of the two original pieces that were approved last year. The second payment has not been made, and the Mylars have not been released. So because the Mylars aren't being released, we are unable to transfer title, which means that every day that this goes by, we don't get paid, and the city and the development horizon continues to extend for Paragon's first two parcels. So as I mentioned, we're incredibly supportive of this application. We're proud of the project that I believe you're going to see today that Paragon is going to present to you. And both Nathan and I are available to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I've got another mall in my area, the Walmart Mall, the Keniston Shopping Mall. I'm not sure what the exact title of it's called. But, there was commercial development going in, and I was saying, look, there's no plan for sidewalks, no plans for pathways. And they pulled up the yes, counselor, that back in the day, we didn't do that. But here's a stellar example. And they pulled up Seasons of Tuxedo. So it is a very good example because there's the connectivity for accessibility within the whole shopping plaza is excellent. And I went through that in multiple meetings with people just to better understand it in comparison to a couple other malls that I'm dealing with or that we needed pathways put into the interior. So yeah, kudos to you for doing that. That was fantastic. And you're right, dealing with Paragon, I think I've got 5 or 6 projects with them on the go in my ward. This isn't in my ward, but yes, great partner to have. So excellent there. Yeah, I guess this is all sort of involved and we're trying to get answers on it. We had meetings on this, as you know, pathway meetings. So yeah, we don't want to hold up things. We want to progress. So we'll have to make some decision here to progress, but we want to understand the big picture, and we don't seem to have all the information for the big picture, I guess is where we're at. So we're going to have to figure out how to progress, get these buildings going, and then figure out how we get the big picture in hand. So
right, and thank you for that compliment, because it's not just the implementation of the actual surface that you're walking on. It's the extensive amount of landscaping that goes on both sides to make that journey pleasurable for it. It's not just asphalt, and it comes at a tremendous installation capital cost, and it comes at a tremendous operational cost to do it right. And we feel we've done it right, and so I'm hoping that you could see clear to saying, in this case where you may have 2 parallel paths a half a block apart, that this obligation isn't required.
Mm-hmm. No, incredible roundabout designs, incredible flower pots, all of that. Like it really is beautiful. So
thank you.
Okay, so any other questions on this with the proponent? No?
Question from me.
Okay.
Councilor Duncan, any questions? No. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's what we have to figure.
Thank you very much.
How to proceed when we
So
get
next
going.
we'll hear from Evan Hansen, who's joining us via Zoom in support of the application.
Hi, everyone. My name is Evan Hansen. I'm the architect for this project. I'm with Affinity Architecture, and today I'll discuss a little bit more about the. So, did you hear any of what I was just saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I won't repeat it, but today I'm here to discuss a little bit more about the buildings that are the subject of this rezoning and variance application. So I will just take a moment here to share my screen. You seeing my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, great. So on this title sheet, you'll see an image, and this image is a bird's eye view of the 2 buildings that are being proposed here as part of this subdivision rezoning process. On the right-hand side, you'll see the building that's destined for Lot 2, and on the left-hand side, you'll see the building that's destined for Lot 4. So this bird's eye view looks towards the west. Some of the subjects that we'll be talking about today as we detail a little bit about these buildings for you will be the features of the building, such as the high quality non-combustible concrete construction that they're going to be built of, their use of sustainable construction materials, their high degree of energy efficiency, the affordability of the units. There's affordable and market rate units offered within these buildings. Water and high-speed internet is included in the rents, and the buildings or the suites feature contemporary luxury finishes and quartz countertops. And there are a variety of resident amenities that we'll touch on briefly. So I'm just gonna swap out my software here. Hopefully Zoom has transitioned. I'm gonna show you a video. Are you seeing what appears to be a video with a play button?
Yep. Yeah.
Perfect. So just to give you a brief introduction to this video, it's as though you were entering the Seasons site from the east, down Sterling Line, which is here on the left, up the Throat Road. And you'll see right here in the center of the screen right now are the buildings that we discussed in the previous meeting that we had back in November. And in the distance are the buildings that we're talking about today. So I'm gonna hit play and it'll just sort of give you a sense of how the buildings integrate into the overall context. So now we're moving west towards the new buildings. Lot 2 is on the right, lot 4 is on the left. We'll just take a look at some of the design work here on the buildings and pivot around, and we'll end up facing east. Hopefully that gives you a good sense of how the buildings will integrate into the site. Zooming in now a little bit, we're going to look at the site plan for lot 4, which you can see here. We worked with the public service to orient these buildings towards the sidewalks and the pathways that are within the site in order to promote a more compact urban form. The parking is located underneath and behind the building, and the buildings are connected to the complex's pedestrian circulation strategy. And this slide shows the site plan for lot 2. The building's slightly bigger, but the same attributes apply in terms of its location close to the sidewalks and integration with the pedestrian connectivity. This slide gives you a sense of the building's appearance. We have the two-dimensional exterior elevations on the left hand of the slide and a bit of a perspective image on the right hand of the slide. We've designed these buildings to integrate with the overall Seasons aesthetic and complement it using similar colors and similar sort of schemes and architectural motifs. And the massing has been broken down by a variety of colors, textures, and planes. And lastly, the buildings step down towards the end to create some resident amenity patios on the roof. The appearance of the building on lot 2 is similar. It's just a bigger building and has the same attributes and the same step downs for the resident patios. As I mentioned earlier, the buildings are going to be designed to be highly energy efficient. They're going to be 25 to 30% more efficient than the applicable energy codes. And we'll achieve that through the use of triple pane windows, LED lighting, highly efficient HVAC and plumbing equipment, low flow fixtures, and the use of an ICF exterior wall, insulated concrete form. This picture here, sort of in the middle or towards the right, is a picture of the ICF module that we'll use to form the exterior walls of the building. You can see it's insulated on both sides and it gets filled with concrete. So it's inherently energy efficient, but also the product that we'll be using for these buildings is the insulation is made of BASF Neopore biomass balance insulation, which gives us an added bonus of a reduced carbon footprint. The insulation itself is made with a combination of traditional insulation making methods, but also through the capture of recycled waste gas from other industrial products. So the carbon footprint is greatly reduced. The building is going to feature affordable units. 10% of all the units will be affordable, priced at 30% of the median renter income, and those rents will be in place for 10 years. The units come with high-speed internet and water included in the rents. The suites are equipped with energy-efficient appliances to help keep the tenants' operating costs low. And there's going to be premium finishes within the suites, including Corus countertops. And the buildings are very accessible also within the common areas of the buildings, like the corridors and the amenity spaces and the multi-purpose rooms. They're fully barrier-free. And within the suites themselves, the suites are designed to universal design standards, which allows people with varying mobility issues to access all spaces within the suites and then to operate the kitchens and utilize the bathrooms. And the buildings will be equipped with amenities such as multipurpose room, fitness room, business center, theater, dog wash, rooftop patios, and many others that will be determined as we delve into the detailed design of the building. That concludes my presentation. Thanks for the opportunity to share this with you today. Any questions?
Questions from the councillors? Councillor Duncan, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Evan. Just a quick question in regards to the building proposed for lot 2. Does it stretch across to lot 3?
No, it's contained within lot 2.
Okay.
I think lot 3 is intended to remain C4, and it's being subdivided off an existing parcel of land to make room for a future commercial building, I would assume. But Nathan and Blair would probably be the best to talk to you about that.
Okay. So lots 4 and 2 right now are where the placement will be, and they won't pass those extracts there. Okay. No, I mean, it looks great, and definitely a development that you can live, work, and play at. And I mean, I'm not sure what the occupancy rate is at the Seasons Tuxedo. Well, not part of the Seasons Tuxedo, but the northwest corner is. But it looks like it's busy and full. So we definitely have need for more housing there, and this is looking like we're accomplishing that by thinking outside of the box to make these mixed use zones. So appreciate the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Any other questions? Councillor Lutz, go ahead.
What is the parking ratio?
On one of the sites, the parking ratio is 1-to-1, and on the other one of the sites, it's 1-to-1.7.
Why the difference?
Well, part of it had to do with just what would fit on the site. I think 1-to-1.1 is what the developer is most comfortable with. And the other site, just the size and configuration allowed us to get a few more stalls there.
So this is part of the malls and corridor approval that we approved, which I was mistaken at the time. I did a media story and said it wasn't, but it is.
Forgive you.
Forgive me on that one. But anyways, okay. So you can do a reduced parking other than 1.7. Can you not with the approval of the malls and corridor zoning?
Yeah, that's my understanding, is that PDO would allow for a reduced parking ratio. In speaking with Nigel, and he can speak to this also, he's most comfortable with the parking ratios that we're proposing here.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So we'll talk to Nigel about that. Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and the final person registered in support is Nigel Fergus, who's joining us via Zoom. Hi, Nigel.
Hi there, how are you?
Good, thanks. You have up to 10 minutes for your presentation.
Perfect, thank you. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to Nathan and Evan for your insightful presentations. Appreciate it. I just wanted to kind of summarize Paragon's vision for the Seasons Master Plan community. I think, as you can see, this project is centered around transforming underutilized parking lots into sustainable, community-focused spaces that directly align with the City of Winnipeg's objective for urban revitalization. I know Blair spoke about world-class class. And that's exactly what we tried to achieve here. I think you can see by that animation, this is a development that you see in kind of that big city feel. And Winnipeg, is the perfect place for developments like this. The development will feature multifamily apartment buildings, blending market rate and affordable housing like we typically do. We'll prioritize accessibility, sustainability, and community integration. That was kind of at the forefront of designing this, was the integration within the existing spaces, and Forster Harvard made that very apparent. So we tried to accomplish that, and I think we've done a great job. We're including sidewalks that connect with the internal connectivity pathways that the existing development has, fronting along our buildings and connecting to all of our spaces as well. So our design really maximizes that pedestrian circulation, creating a connected functional hub that enhances the surrounding community. Sustainability is always at the heart of our approach with the buildings. They're set to exceed National Energy Code standards by 25 to 30%. We're incorporating energy efficient systems, renewable energy options, and universal accessibility standards to ensure the development serves all residents. We believe that we'll be attracting some aging in place with Brightwater community close by. There has been an increased, interest in having high quality housing available for the aging in place community. So, we spoke about parking, and I believe this development would be a little bit more car centric. That's why the level of comfort for us was kind of going to that 1-to-1 parking ratio here. And that's why we did that. So, we have 10% of the units that will be affordable at affordable rates, and we've included a range of community amenities aimed at improving the quality of life. Rooftop patios on these buildings, I think, will be a great addition to the space. I also want to just take a moment to express my sincere gratitude to the members of the City Council and City of Winnipeg administration for their collaborative approach and leadership in supporting this initiative. It has been an absolute pleasure working through this development. We've rezoned 2 of the initial properties, and here we are onto the last 2, and it has been a great process. Paragon Living Season Master Plan Committee not only reflects the city's vision for revitalizing underutilized spaces, but it also sets a new standard for urban development through innovative design, sustainability, and community engagement, creating a master plan community that supports Winnipeg's long-term growth. So we're really proud to contribute to the ongoing growth and vitality of Winnipeg's urban landscape. And so thank you all for your time and attention. It's been an absolute pleasure working through this with you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Luce?
Hey, thank you very much, Mr. Fergus, for your presentation. I just wanted to understand your parking ratios. You've got a 1-to-1 in one of the units, and then you've got a 1.7 in another, and then in the other block. And
No, it's 1.17.
Oh, 1.1.
Yeah.
Got it.
1.17.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was just a matter of the shape of the parking lot.
Yeah. Okay, sure. No, that's and I guess, just from the standpoint of you develop many properties, I guess there's always a question, about parking ratios. How much parking do you need? My understanding is a developer's not going to build a building unless they've got, they're going to look at the area, they're going to determine what they think they need for parking. They're not going to build a building unless they have enough parking to support their building, correct?
Exactly that. And typically, the more affordable housing units that don't require parking, they have no uptake. We look at all of our buildings across Winnipeg, and it's very hard to find a building that even uptakes 1-to-1. We're finding kind of that 0.7, 0.8 is really the uptake across the city of Winnipeg, including projects that we've done in Bridgewater, which are very car-centric developments. So we see less of a need for parking, especially with newcomers coming to Canada. That a car is not the first thing that they're getting. They're using the active transportation systems and using bike and things like that. So we're definitely seeing less and less of that. And we will now with the Malls and Corridors PDO, which is a great initiative for Winnipeg. We will take another look at the parking over here as well. But when we went into this initially, the Malls and Corridors was not a thing, and that's why we went kind of looking for that 1-to-1 parking ratio.
Mm-hmm. And I guess if you're on a rapid transit corridor, that has an impact too, right?
Definitely. Exactly that. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Councillor Duncan?
Thank you very much, Nigel. Appreciate you coming to speak to us today here and give us a little bit more of a overview on the project here. I touch on can see in that area. Are you able to speak to that and maybe add upon what you envision once these multifamilies are built? What you envision that area looking like and feeling like?
I think that's kind of why we did the animation. You know, it's really just kind of a hub and community centric with a lot of activity, with the residents connecting with the commercial spaces, the restaurants and businesses and malls. And I think that was the kind of the original vision coming from Forrester Harvard. And we set out to really achieve that. And I think that's why we continue to put forward the animated renderings, because you know, there's no words that can really describe exactly how this will feel. I think once you see it, and you know, I think 98% of our buildings turn out to be 98% of the renderings, and I think what you see is what you're going to get, especially from our team.
And from your end of thing, any comments on our earlier discussion around our multi-use pathway, especially lot 2? Here for the proposed development, having the 3 meter wide pathway right in front of the building?
Yeah, you know, exactly that. We contribute to a lot of infrastructure in Winnipeg. We've recently done, you know, millions of dollars in upgrades in infrastructure, roadways, pathways. But I think this is one of those things where the discussion came up. We made a contribution on the first parcel, and then it came up. Well, how is the rest of this pathway being constructed? You know, and the answer was there is no answer, and there are no contributions, and we're taking a deposit from you for a small portion of this, but the rest of the pathway, there is no contributions to my knowledge, and that's why I think right now the milers are held up to start a development for a small piece of a pathway that the rest of it has no funding for. And I think that this is one of those things that we should probably take a really hard look at, because we're kind of spinning tires on something that will probably not happen, because 75% of it has no funding in place and probably never will.
So you touched on that, the holding of the Mylars, and I know that that's a separate discussion, but you know, it's been stressed to us, and we've stressed to the public, and the public has stressed back to us about the importance of this of not particularly this development, but this development as a whole, of having new housing in Winnipeg. When we hold up things like this, how many units are being held up to be constructed with over a payment or not payment of the pathway?
Well, this development will have over 800 units. 10% of those units will be deeply discounted in affordable housing. Right now, Paragon has very low vacancy. I would say our vacancy is less than 2%. And we continue to see the demand exceed the supply across Winnipeg. So once again, I think this is, you know, really holding up some high quality housing that can be brought to market really quickly. So I would say over 800 units are being held up at this juncture right now.
Okay, so now that we have a number we're working with here, how soon are we talking that Paragon in partnership with Seasons to be in the ground and we can see these things being constructed and housing people?
Once Mylars are registered, we would then go for the dev permit and build permit. We are ready to go as soon as those Mylars are registered. It's kind of being held up for this pathway that has small portions of it that I guess they're, you know, because there's a short form subdivision, they're asking for this contribution on this small portion, but the rest of the pathway has, to my knowledge, has no funding in place, and there, you know, there really is no real plan for that either. So I think that this is one of those things. Like I said, there's the inside development connectivity pathways that don't really exist anywhere else in Winnipeg. I think it really is a prime example of that, and I think a pathway along the front of the Seasons site is something that we should really take a hard look at. I don't think it's going to ever get constructed from what I know, based on, you know, my 15 15+ years of development and doing some of the biggest infrastructure projects in the city of Winnipeg. And that's why we've kind of brought that to the forefront of the discussion. It's just one of those things that really does not make sense here.
So you are aware that now we're flipping back to the item at hand here, lots 2 and 4. The city is requesting another payment for those 2 lots. You're aware of that?
Oh, no, I was not aware of that.
Okay, I will seek clarification, but that is my understanding that there is now an additional ask for the lots 2 and 4 that are in question here today.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? No, we're good. Thank you very much, Nigel.
Can I just say one more thing? So lot 2 and 4, like these lots are internal. They don't front onto Sterling Line, and these lots don't touch Sterling Line either. So, we are, I think there definitely should be a bigger discussion on why a contribution to a pathway that we don't front onto.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, if I may, I'm just looking specifically, lot 4, sure, we could argue where it lands. It clearly doesn't touch Sterling Lion, but, if we look at the parcel as, one big chunk there, okay, sure, they could say it's on Sterling Lion. But lot 2 is internal to the Seasons. It also has a 3-meter wide multi-use path directly in front of it. I just think that I'm trying to tee this up for the public service to respond to it during their time, but I appreciate the comments there.
No, thank you.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have no one else registered in support of the application, just confirming there's no one else in the gallery who's wishing to speak in support of the application. We have no one registered in opposition, confirming no one in the gallery is looking to speak in opposition to the application, and no one registered with respect to the application, no one looking to speak for information. Okay, so if there are questions for the public service?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate. First off, are we requiring payments for a future mixed multi-use pathway for lots 2 and 4 of this proposal?
We are only requesting payment for the planned area that fronts Sterling Lion. So that would only be lot 5.
Lot what?
So not a part of the discussion today.
Just the frontage of lot 5 on Sterling Lion. Sure. Unless I'm looking at the wrong diagram.
Lot 5, I don't see any proposed development on lot 5. Lot 5 looks like it's occupied.
Developed.
It's not being developed as multifamily, but it's existing development, commercial development. It is part of the planned area.
But isn't it all developed out now, lot 5?
I believe it is.
There's buildings on there and parking lots and.
It's part of the planned area. It's the part of the planned area that fronts Sterling Lion. It's part of the planned area that would be adjacent to the path. We're asking for the contribution for the pathway to be the frontage of the planned area to Sterling Lion, which happens to be lot 5's frontage on Sterling
Right,
Lion.
but we're not dealing with lot 5 today.
It is part of the planned area. So that, how is the frontage would be calculated?
Because lot 5, this frontage area is being subdivided as part of
To create lot 4.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Okay, that's a little more clear.
So how do we keep this housing moving when we don't have all the information related to the pathway?
My apologies. When I saw this file, I thought it was not quite as complicated. I did not anticipate this conversation. So I did not do a deep dive on all the surrounding adjacent developments and their contribution.
Right.
So that's
That's
on
okay.
me. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Again, if you can either afford me some time, or we can put it as a condition, or we can remove it, or we can put it with a sunset clause. Again, there is mechanisms that the city has. However, they are political, that we would ask for capital funding to finish the path. That is not unheard of. And again, the more of the collection that we have, the easier the argument is to finish the path. So, so I think your options are support the path, delete the path, lay it over, sunset clause.
What's the sunset clause?
You'd put a clause in there that if the path isn't constructed by 2030, the obligation is considered satisfied.
So was this not brought up in the pre-app to them that they would be involved in, like, was there discussion about the pathway in the pre-app at all?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
Who talks to them about that? Is it you or?
I don't recall a pre-app for this development, for this land.
Okay. Okay, and maybe it was in the other ones that was there. Okay, well, what do you want to do? I kind of would like to know, I would like to know what's been collected, what's all along. I don't want to hold up the development. I want to keep that going. So.
And again, lot 5, and I know this is probably confusing for folks who don't have these maps and aren't familiar with the area, but lot 5 fronting on to Sterling Lion, you know, without this subdivision wouldn't have triggered this. So we're talking about a portion of Sterling Lion being funded, but then again, there's a significant portion that has not been and will not be. It'll have to come from a capital ask or part of the pedestrian cycling strategy funding. I don't know the exact wording for it, but like on the west side, we got 200 plus meters. And then if we don't take into consideration lot 5 or the next easternly lot or the next easternly lot, but then the one that fronts onto Kenaston, again, I don't believe that we are asking for anything for that. That's another 200. So like we're 400 plus meters of unfunded multi-use pathways.
There is vacant space within the one that is on the corner of Sterling Line and Kenaston. It's not unreasonable for them to subdivide that further. The whole planned area would be again eligible for a contribution there if we have not already collected it or secured it.
I think if we could all hop in the time machine and say to Forester Harvard, hey, what would you rather do? Build a multi-use pathway along Sterling Lion or spend all the money to make a network within your Seasons Tuxedo? I would assume that they would stick with what they had. Or if you said, well, either way, you got to build it, they would say, forget the network inside. We'll just pay for the multi-use path on Sterling Lion. It just seems unfair that we're now saying we need 2.
I know I'm an engineer, so I oversimplify things, but to me,
I find that hard to believe. Engineers would never do that.
the city looks at this as blinders and what within our control and what is outside of our control. Private infrastructure is not considered within our control. It's not something we can apply our standards to. It's not something that meets our standards generally. Blind corners are present within that subdivision. Traffic, as an active cyclist myself, I can tell you, I would not go through that parking lot. I would prefer to take the sidewalk over even an 8-lane. I take the AT path there. I prefer the AT path, but I would not be cutting through a mall site. So. Yeah.
Well, I would prefer not to delay this. I think that being able to get 800 units under construction is the most important thing here. Any other comments?
No comments from me. Councillor List?
No. I don't want to delay the housing, so you decide.
So if we're not delaying it, if we're not requiring any active transportation on the north side of Sterling Line, then any development there will have to go through the Seasons area in order to get to the south side or to travel east-west.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that we might be overlooking is that this situation of having an MUP, I'm gonna use the acronym, only on one side of the street is not unique. You know, it's not ideal, but it's not unique. What would a sunset clause look like if we were to?
We just put in the wording that should however, I would need to change this to an agreement. I really don't want to do that, but sunset clause would be if this condition is deemed satisfied if the pathway is not constructed prior to 2030 or prior to whatever year you decide. So basically, we would deem it that, you know, we'd hold security up until that point, and if the city did not construct the pathway, we would return the right security.
Oh, you take it and then you'd return it.
We'd hold something, yeah.
Right, right. And what about the whole concept of putting a caveat on that when the pathway, if there is a plan and when funding's available, that they pay then?
You know what, sure, what, we can go down that avenue if you want to put a condition there that the city enters into agreement with the applicant to be registered on title that should a pathway be constructed. I think we can steal some wording from Brookside.
That they would pay their half.
That they would pay
Portion.
their share.
Share of storage.
It would be, yeah.
Mhm.
Because yeah, we you know, well, there is an example of a water main like that up north. It seemed to work, but again, I need a couple minutes just to come up with the wording, because right now, again, public service, we wanted to streamline this, so we did not do an agreement because agreements take time.
Right.
And this would require an agreement, but we can figure something out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if the public service, okay, say hypothetically we approve this as it stands, add the caveat that they contribute their share should the pathway be constructed. That doesn't tie up any funds from the developer, you know, based on a hypothetical situation that this is done, period.
Again, we don't want to collect money or hold money that we're not going to use either. Like, that's not beneficial to us. It's actually.
No, I don't. Unfortunately, we do that. Yeah, I'm okay with doing that caveat. I think at the end of the day, you know, in an ideal situation, it would benefit also the developments to have a multi-use path, and I think that that's a happy landing spot for both sides. I don't know if I have support of my committee members for that, and I don't know that this is the time to discuss it. I think that we still have to hear back from the applicant. So just my thoughts. Never mind. I'm not asking for opinions at this point in time.
Well, the applicant comes back, right?
Yeah, and
To speak, right? So we can talk.
you should confirm that he's okay with the caveat, because
Right.
some applicants are really, they like their titles as free as they can. but,
Okay.
Right.
And I guess the only other thing with that caveat would be is if the public service goes back and finds out, oh, wait, there was no contribution for any of the other parcels along Sterling Line in the Seasons development, I think that that would add another wrinkle just to kind of prepare yourself for that.
Yeah, again, we are opportunists. We collect when we can.
Sure.
And there is still foreseeable scenarios where we collect further. As we mentioned, there was one invoice paid last year, so we do have one segment. Another was invoiced. We have not received payment, hence the Mylars.
Yep.
So we have invoiced for some, and there is opportunity for further. And again, I would love to do a deep dive
Yes.
to confirm, but I think the caveat is a great option.
Good.
At this point.
I have no other questions.
Okay, so the wording on the caveat.
Let's,
Give me 10
Let's see.
minutes.
Okay, we're gonna take
Well, let's hear from the
okay, yeah,
proponent.
hear from the proponent first. To
So-
see,
The applicant is entitled to return and speak in rebuttal to comments made. So Nathan and Blair, you have up to 10 minutes to rebut any information that you've heard, but no new information can be provided. So we're just asking you to start your video. And you can unmute yourselves and proceed.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit thanks for the opportunity. I'm a little bit perplexed by the discussion. If there is there's no way at this point in time for us to go back to a fully built out lot 5 and add another cost to a development. We have tenants in place. We underwrite our developments based on our known costs. I would not be supportive of anything within this application triggering an obligation to a piece of our project that we have already built. The second part of that is if that, then this is the first we're hearing about that, and Nathan, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not in on all these discussions, but this is the first I'm hearing that there would be a trailing obligation to our lands based on the subdivision. Maybe Nathan, if you could confirm.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. So a little late in the game in my opinion, but if indeed that is the ask, then I think that confirms to me that there are no contributions that have been made on the balance of our seasons project at Front Sterling Lion, and that obviously then there would also be no letters of credit hanging out there. So respectfully, we would ask at this point in time that a caveat not be placed on any of our lands as part of your approval of this application at this time.
And then we talked about a sunset clause.
Well, if there's no contribution, then the sunset clause caveat is irrelevant, I guess. But I think maybe that's a question that would be better posed to Ms. Nigel. That if would he be willing within his components of the development or his portions of development to have a sunset clause placed on a deferral of the payment on those parcels. But back to Councillor Duncan's observation, the two parcels that we're talking about right now do not directly interface in any way with Sterling Lion. Both of them directly interface with the internal pathway system that we've constructed. And you know, we deal in multiple markets. We're in 5 markets in Western Canada, and we face this discussion on a regular basis, but it's also utilization of infrastructure. And you've got a situation here where a private developer at its sole cost has installed infrastructure and maintains that infrastructure without one penny of obligation to the city of Winnipeg. You're now going to potentially talk about putting a parallel system in place less than a half a block apart that you have to clean the snow on, you have to maintain it, you have to patch it, you have to pave it, and you have to install it. And when I look at this and utilization of funds, to me, it seems like a very redundant duplication of time, effort, and money.
Okay, I have no more questions.
Questions?
Thank you.
Okay,
So
now a motion or? Okay.
Parts.
And
Yeah, I'll make a motion here. I just need some support from the clerk here just on. Thank you. All right, I'll move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All those in favor? Aye. Carried.
And Madam Clerk, at this point in time, if I did want to put specific wording around contributions.
If you wanted to make an amendment, then it would be forwarded to the Standing Policy Committee on Property and Development.
Okay, with the following amendment.
Within the, yes, as long, yeah.
Okay. So I'll move that the recommendation of Winnipeg's public service be concurred in and forwarded to the Standing Policy Committee on Property and Development with the following.
What would you like to do?
I'm prepared, if I have the support of my committee members here, to remove any formal contribution to multi-use pathways to be constructed on Sterling Lion.
So that would be in section 3, servicing conditions,
Section 3.
removing section 3.
Okay, with the following
For the
amendments,
existing.
the removal of section 3.
Okay.
will be-
And the reason.
And that's the only thing that needs to be changed, right, Kevin? Just removing section 3. Okay. Okay.
Wording
Okay.
reasons.
And supporting reasons, I'll speak to the development itself. Excellent use of application of a mixed use property. I think that, it was touched on, but a big thing, especially as chair of water and waste, the sustainability factors of these buildings exceeding the current codes. I also took note of the applicant mentioning the aging in place piece, and that being important to residents of my community who do not want to move to other parts of Winnipeg, but would rather age in place, whether that be in Charleswood, Tuxedo, or Westwood. This is going to be, when it's completely built out, a world-class development. My supporting reasons around the amendment are that there is a multi-use pathway on the south side of Sterling Lion. There's some responsibility there for myself as the area councillor to make the connectivity of the northwest corner at McCurry and Wilkes to complete a proper attachment to the mixed-use pathway on the northwest corner into the Seasons, but then also to note that there is a 3-meter wide multi-use pathway that does run through the entirety of the Seasons development that does then connect to Kenaston Route 90. So those would be my supporting reasons regarding the application itself and the amendments.
Okay, all those in support?
Aye.
Motion's carried.
And I would like to move that the public hearings with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried.
Please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council. No further representations are permitted on the subdivision or rezoning, and all persons registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council. And then the variance.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, I will move regarding the variance of item number 3, that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried.
That the receipt of the public representations be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried.
And that in accordance with subsection 2473 of the City of Winnipeg Charter, the variance is consistent with Plan Winnipeg and any applicable secondary plan, does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining properties and adjacent area, including the area separated from the property by street or waterway, is the minimum modification of the zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property and is compatible with the area in which the property to be affected is situated. Am I able to use the supporting reasons? And I also omitted the most important part of my supporting reasons that I, if possible, add to the last. And this one is that we are looking at increasing housing, not only in the Charleswood Tuxedo Westwood ward, but in the city of Winnipeg by upwards of 800 units. And those would be my supporting reasons if they're
Okay, all those in favor?
Completely support. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's carried.
And Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in as amended.
No amendments.
No amendments to this variance.
Unless that
Thank you.
path changes anything. Okay.
Okay.
So the variance be approved.
And that the variance be approved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion's carried.
And finally, that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried.
Please note that the committee's decision with respect to this application may be appealed. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the order issued, which will be mailed to all persons registered.
Take a 5-minute break for the next.
5-minute break, please. Okay.
Thank you, councilors. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Centerpoint Community Committee, our regular meeting where we took a break. We're on item number 4.
Okay, item 4 is a variance at Markham Road under file DAB 260688 of 2024D. Please note additional communications were received in opposition to the matter, which have been distributed to all members of the committee. All participants have been muted and will only be permitted to speak when called upon. Once you have been heard, you can either remain in the Zoom meeting or leave and continue to watch live via the city's YouTube channel. If any Zoom participants are currently watching the live meeting on YouTube, please mute the YouTube audio now. And we'll look to the planner for a brief overview of the application.
Yes, thank you. So the subject site is located at the northeast corner of Markham Road and Gull Lake Road. Yeah, this site is adjacent to the L'Atelier subdivision of the CN Railway and the Southwest Rapid Transit Corridor. It is located in the Waverly Heights neighborhood of the Waverly West Ward. The subject site's approximately 2.4 acres in size, and the land is currently vacant. The property is zoned RMFL, residential multifamily large, and is located within the Rapid Transit Corridors policy area under Complete Communities Direction Strategy. The applicant proposes to subdivide the property into 2 separate lots, Lot 1 and Lot 2, and construct multifamily residential buildings on each lot. A total of 263 dwelling units are proposed. Specifically on proposed Lot 1, it is proposed to contain a 4-story multifamily building with 118 dwelling units. As well, this Lot 1 will contain 92 parking stalls. On proposed Lot 2, it's proposed to contain a 6-story multifamily building with 145 dwelling units and a total of 133 parking stalls provided on Lot 2. The proposed subdivision and rezoning of this property was approved by council in 2021. At this time, plans of development were for a total of 263 dwelling units, with Lot 1 having 80 units and a height of 4 stories, and Lot 2 having 180 units and a height of 10 stories. Design plans have changed since that time. They are now proposing 263 dwelling units. So this is an increase overall of 3 additional dwelling units. So the applicant's plans have changed, resulting in new variances to the standards of the Winnipeg zoning bylaw. These variances include variances for the east side yard setback from Gull Lake Road on proposed Lot 1, the front yard setback from Gull Lake Road on proposed Lot 2, the garbage enclosure setback, which is setback distance between the 2 lots, so it's interior to the site, the parking area setback from Gull Lake Road on proposed Lot 2, variance also for the number of parking stalls provided. They are proposing 92 parking stalls instead of 177 that are required on Lot 1. And on Lot 2, they are proposing 133 parking stalls instead of the required 221 stalls. Additionally, there's a variance for a parking area with no access to a public street. This is caused by Lot 1, proposed Lot 1 getting its access through a shared cross-access agreement with proposed Lot 2. The public service supports these variances, in particular the variance for the number of parking stalls is supported because of the proximity to the Southwest Rapid Transit Corridor and station, the active transportation routes that are along, in particular the active transportation along the Southwest Rapid Transit Corridor, and proximity to commercial amenities on Pembina Highway nearby. As well, we are basing our support on the provision of a higher amount of indoor bicycle parking on the site. There are several conditions of approval that are recommended for this variance. This includes ensuring that the number of parking spaces they are showing on the plans are provided, that concrete wall be provided along the parking ramp on Markham Road. This wall would ensure safety as well as visually screen the ramp from the street environment. and that final elevation drawings include a variety of design elements as outlined in the recommendation section. And it should be noted that plan approval by this committee is required under the zoning agreement on the land. So final plans will have to come back to this committee for approval. And that concludes my summary. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Sure. So I just want to clarify the garbage. The for the construction of a garbage enclosures to permit no east side yard instead of 8 feet. So just help me out with that. What does that mean?
Yeah, so this is on proposed lot 1, the westerly of the two lots.
Okay.
And it is along the east side of lot 1 in this central parking area.
Just wait. So it's along the just get me to the right map here. I'm just going to go to the right map. On our page 24, I believe, north, south, east. No, page 25.
Thank you.
Okay, so just sort of explain this again.
Sure. Yeah. So on page 25, on the agenda for today, there's garbage on the east side of the building, a garbage enclosure area.
So is it on that property line?
Yes, it's right along the shared property line between.
So it looks like there's two types of garbage units, correct?
Says
One-
garbage recycle.
Yeah, there's two bins, where there are two sections of bins. There's
Section, oh yeah, okay, the text is fuzzy. So there's
Yeah.
two sets of bins. One is at the north end, there's parking spots beside it. One is at the south end,
yes.
parking beside parking spots. Okay, so what changed on that? Why is that written into the?
Because it's directly adjacent to the proposed lot line between these two lots.
Right.
So it needs to have a setback under
Right.
the zoning bylaw, but in this case, there is no setback. It's
Got it.
right up against the lot line.
Okay, got it.
We're supportive because it's internal.
It's an internal,
Yeah.
okay, so if it was two separate property owners, then we'd need a setback. Okay,
That's correct.
so then they will be accessed through that, I guess I'm gonna call it an internal road, right? That sort of corridor there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay, so that. So just so that I'm clear, so for building one, the west side, the side facing homes,
Mhm.
we originally had a 25-foot setback, now it's a 20-foot setback,
Correct.
okay?
Yeah.
So we've lost 5 feet. On the north side, it's the same, 25 feet, 25 feet.
Yeah, that has not changed.
Okay, and the south side, we're pushing it closer to Markham. It's not set back as far.
Yeah.
So that means that they're building more units.
That's correct. Yeah, this building remains 4 stories, but is longer,
Right,
moving further or closer to Markham.
right, okay. So then building number 2, no change on the south side.
Yes, correct.
And on the northwest corner, just sort of the corner of the building, it's about 2 feet change, a 2-foot change.
Correct.
Okay,
Just over 2 feet.
okay. And it's gone from 10
Yeah.
stories to about 6.
To 6 stories. Yeah.
That's a big drop in height.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just right in front of me, I don't have the unit change in this building. I believe they're providing smaller units, a mix or a greater mix of units, including smaller units. So that would explain, they're still providing just over 260 units, but most significant change is that building 2 is 6 stories instead of 10.
Right.
originally proposed.
Right. So then what is the minimum square footage, I guess, per unit that the city recommends?
In this zone, the zone that they are rezoning to, RMFL, the minimum lot area per dwelling is 400 square feet per unit.
Right.
They are not at this time getting any variance to that. So I'm just,
So I guess we'll ask them what their square footage is. They've got it on page 5. They don't really, I'm just looking for we've got some micro units, some 1-bedroom units, 2-bedroom units. And we're going to ask them what the square footage is, I guess, right? So, so the micro would be 400. They're not asking for a variance, so it would be 400.
Page 28.
Look at you go, page 28.
Sorry, I throw that.
building 1 has 400
Oh yeah, here we go.
square feet.
Okay, sorry.
And
Okay,
building 2 would meet as well.
right.
And it's 400 exact for building 2.
Right.
So
Okay.
no variance for density is required for this.
Right, no variance for density. Okay. Okay, so and why are you recommending this then? This is a significant change. We're not doing 10 stories, we're doing 6 stories, but our density is increasing.
Yeah.
Density is not increasing.
Well, the number of the density is meets the zoning bylaw. The number of units increases slightly to 263 up from 260. That's, fairly small. One kind of like larger change would be the number of parking stalls
Right.
that they're proposing with the parking ratio. So back in 2021, when this came for rezoning, they had ratios between 1.05 and 0.86. Now the ratios are combined 0.85.
0.85.
Yeah. So
Okay.
under 1 to 1.
Okay, I just want to address some of the concerns here in the submissions that we received. We received 2 submissions. So parking deficiencies, okay. So the one thing that I heard, and I will be asking this developer also, what I heard from the last development was that people aren't going to build and invest this kind of money unless they feel they're going to occupy the suites. And that the ratio was about 0.7 is what I had heard. Now, this is right on a rapid transit corridor. So, okay, so there's parking, privacy and neighborhood character. Well, we're dropping it from 10 stories to 6 stories. The distance of feet was 5 feet really that brought it closer to the houses on Gull. Okay, so we've got environmental waste management concerns, permitting no east side yard for garbage enclosures. Okay, that was difficult for me to understand. I get why the resident doesn't understand it, that there's no distance because we're looking at these 2 properties as one and there's a road in between.
Correct.
Okay. Disruption to community dynamics. Cities grow and change. That's a big discussion. Precedent for future developments. I hope this is a positive precedent for more future developments on the rapid transit corridor, because that's why we spent 600 plus million on the rapid transit corridor, was to have density along it. People wanted a park and ride. Well, that's not happening. We do back onto the Waverly Heights community center with skating, recreation, cricket, baseball. We've got re-envisioning plans for the community center. So I'm looking at that one. I just want to look at this other submission here also, which looks very similar to the other one. Lack of child-friendly amenities and play spaces. Well, we've got the whole green space of the community center right behind us. Okay. I guess the thing is, you know, and this was when we had our first public hearing on it, was we're building this $600 million rapid transit corridor. Things are going to be happening along the corridor. And it's basically that almost takes it out of my hands. I cannot not say to development along the rapid transit corridor, which is the purpose of building it, to stimulate development. Okay, so I have no more questions for you.
Okay, Councilor Duncan, any questions?
I don't think so. I was going to touch on some of the concerns that were submitted in the clerk there, but Councilor Dukes has identified them.
Okay, and I just had one question. I believe the indoor parking for bicycles.
Yeah, they are, with this proposal, they are providing, 70 in building 1 that are indoor, and 75 indoor bike parking spots for building 2. And as well as they're providing an additional 34 outdoor on building 1, next to building 1, and 26 on building 2. So this is, in our view, a pretty good amount of secure indoor bike parking. So it's indoor, it's secure, so that it's a little bit more reliable for residents to use.
More comfortable.
Yeah,
no question.
Yeah.
Okay, that was something I haven't seen a lot of, so I thought I'd ask that.
I guess one more question that I will also ask of the proponent, which was always a big issue all along, was, you know, you've got, we've articulated out here a nice bunch of design guidelines, right, for the townhouses, is that what we're calling them, townhouses? So this will come back to community committee for plan approval. So because they're right across from single family homes, this was very important to the community and to me, that we didn't have like a big box across the street, that we had articulated, interesting units. So we've carried over the design guidelines, and okay, I'll speak to the proponent about that.
Go ahead, Councilor Duncan.
Are there any height restrictions on building 1?
I don't recall if there was through the original zoning agreement. I'd have to just look back on that.
And what is the max that they are allowed to build to?
Under the RMFL zoning, that's, the height is 150 feet. I believe we may have placed a restriction on this site in particular.
I think we did.
Yeah.
If you could look that up and
Sure.
point it out to me in the plans here.
Yeah, I'll find that.
And we can come back to that if you want.
That's fine. Yeah, we don't have to have this right second. Thank you.
Yeah, lot 1 is 4 stories in height with a maximum height of 42 feet to the top of the roof.
That's what they're proposing. Yeah.
And just remind me again, if it were to be scaled down to RM, FM,
medium.
What is the height?
The height is 70 feet.
Okay.
That's generally too common.
Let's step it down again to, I want to build the biggest house in the world on that, according to Winnipeg. What's the height?
If it was zoned single family and you just wanted to do,
I want to do the biggest whopper I can.
Yeah, that's 35 feet.
35. So 7 feet is where we're talking about 7 feet. If somebody bought this up and put up a ginormous home, 35 feet tall as opposed to a 4-story, 42 foot.
Yeah, and they could do that. 35 feet would be measured if you do a peaked roof, that's to the midpoint of that roof.
Midpoint.
So I mean, the absolute height of the top of the roof could be higher.
Okay. Appreciate that.
Okay, so first we'll hear from the applicant then, if there's no more questions. So have Neil Manuk registered in support. I'm not sure if you're acting as the applicant.
in person rather than Zoom.
Yeah, that's fine. Are you acting as the applicant?
I'm
though?
not acting as the applicant
Okay.
as well. Okay.
Okay.
So just sit here.
Yeah, you have up to 10 minutes for your presentation.
I don't have a formal presentation, but I can give you some background on the project. So the project became not viable after the last round of rezoning variances and whatnot, partly because of interest rates and other things. And so we made a few adjustments to the project. We added some affordable housing to the project. Like the other presentation earlier, there is a hope for some aging in care kinds of units. There's a variety of units. It's not sort of one crop. There's multiple ways that people might live here. One thing that I should add is we have some co-op cars as part of our parking ad, and those aren't counting as the ratio right now. But with the co-op cars, we're at 1-to-1 on both sites. So the co-op cars, and we're mandated to have 2 co-op cars. We actually have 3 co-op cars. So with just 2, we're at 1-to-1. So we're actually, with the co-op car addition, we'd be over 1-to-1 on each site. And that was a thing that was really of importance to the owner developer, that there was enough parking, even though it is on rapid transit. So it is a rapid transit project. Our energy efficiency is going to be high. I can talk about a whole bunch of things about the project, but I think we're not here to talk about those things. We're here to talk about the site itself. We have done a number of studies on creating a sort of varied and sort of segmented kind of townhouse feel to the facades. We've shared them with Councillor Lukes, I think, but we have to come back for plan approval anyway. So we're totally up for that, and we understand that and the sensitivity around all that stuff. I think the numbers changed slightly, but not significantly, and as such, the parking changed a little bit. So there's a few adjustments. The adjustments are, we tried to have no adjustments, but we couldn't have no adjustments. So we're here today for some variances, and I guess I don't really have anything more to say unless you have some questions for me.
So part of the hang up too was servicing. Now, where are you at with your servicing?
Well, we were hoping that there was some money from the TIF financing plan for the infrastructure. None of that's really promised, or we can't sort of confirm any of that. There's money from the Housing Accelerator Fund, but the first round largely went to sort of city initiated projects. I think the second round's going to more sort of homeless kinds of initiatives, and hopefully the third round there might be some money for this project. We're hopeful, but regardless, we're going forward with the project.
Mm-hmm. So if there is no funding, because we don't know, because it's
we don't know.
variable, right?
We don't know anything really.
You would proceed and work on the servicing.
Yeah.
Figure that out. Okay.
Well, we've done everything we can to try and figure out the servicing part of it, and it's just part of doing the project.
And so when you say you have affordable housing, like do you have CMHC affordable housing?
CMHC affordable housing, yeah.
So
for that, and also for the Accelerator Fund, for both, we're compliant for both.
Right, but have you applied to CMHC?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Pending the variances, we will be applying to CMHC.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, you're envisioning downsizing, people living here, downsize
Sure.
people,
Students,
New
There's
Canadians.
a New Canadians, there's a host of,
Yeah.
a bunch of different people that could live here.
Yeah, yeah. No, I.
Like I say, rather than sort of cater to one group to do just student housing or just, you know, aging in place kind of housing.
Yeah, yeah.
You do sort of a mix of housing. And
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Well, it is a really good spot. I know the neighborhood's not happy about it, like I know that. But I know that, you know, like I said, and I said all along, we didn't build this rapid transit corridor to put a parking lot.
We did scale down the
height.
second building, the height, significantly
Yeah.
to make it seem less opposing for.
Yeah, and I guess it's really important, the facade on those.
We understand
Just
that for
resend
sure.
me what you've
Yeah.
come up with already, if you wouldn't mind resending me that. And then we'll look at it at the community committee when you come for plan approval. Yeah, I don't have any more questions.
Okay.
Okay, Councillor Duffy,
That's
go
a
ahead.
question. What used to be on this site?
What's the what?
What used to be on the site?
Oh, it was, I don't know what was there originally, but it was kind of like a place where people walk dogs.
It
You
was,
guys-
it was
you
a
guys
public
probably
works,
know.
it was a public works yards.
Oh, it was a public
Sometime.
works yard at one
Sometime,
point.
It was a public.
Then it was
works yard.
abandoned, I guess, then it sort of became a park.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
Not
not really a park, but kind of
Garbage collector.
garbage.
Like 30 years ago.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Neil.
Right, so there's no one else registered in support, just confirming no one else in the gallery is here in support of the application. Okay, so we'll move on to opposition. So we have Chirag Patel, who's registered in opposition to the application. So if you'd like to, did you want to speak or are you just?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm?
So
You have
I
up to 10
strongly
minutes.
oppose this plan because it would increase the density and increase the traffic congestion, and there are already burden on Gulf Lake Road. The already car parked vehicle full of vehicle at the after evening you see, and there's only one way, like it's small street, right? There's no sidewalk. My daughter and other kids also go to school on the Gull Lake Road, and they literally have to walk on the road, and especially in winter time, right? And this will increase the traffic and the safety will, like, there will be more chances of accident of kids, right? They have to walk on the road. There's no sidewalk, and the school classes are already like full of students. They are overwhelmed, right? So the more student will burden on the schools. And there is a blue transition, but student leave and they make extra money, so they do Uber and other skip the disease. So they need a vehicle as well. So they, like, multi-family people live in that neighborhood. So if you see all of driveway are full of vehicles, there's no space here, like more than 4 vehicles, 5 vehicles. So already burden there, so it will increase more congestion on the street side.
So I hear you. I'm hearing too, just from all that other development on Pembina Highway, right? And especially in the smaller units. And when people know that if they don't have a parking spot, what I found is people, they're not going to rent if they don't have a parking spot, right? Because they know it's winter climate. They know there's limited parking on the street. So they'll rent somewhere else if they want parking. That's what I'm seeing. I had a traffic study done in that first round of consultation. The developer paid for a traffic study so we could see before the development what happens after the development. We can put time limited parking restrictions on the street. Neighbors don't have to adhere to it. They can have their own parking pass. But we can put time restricted parking, which we've done all around the University of Manitoba, whereby you can only park for 2 hours and then you'll get towed. But if you're a resident, you can park longer. You can get a resident pass. But when units are small, like a lot of these units will be for people downsizing. A lot of the units will be for new families that don't have a car, right? A lot of the units will be for students. we built the rapid transit corridor, which is literally right there to be used. So
Yeah, actually, I bought a house over there just to, because of the rapid transit, but eventually I had to buy another vehicle for my wife because we can't make up because we all doing multiple jobs, right? And especially night time. So, and students, I see the many students also live on with other family and they own cars, right? Because they have to make money to pay their tuition fees and other expenses, right? So they can't do Uber or skip the disease by just because it is on the blue transit road, right? And school, I know the staff class all full of like students there, all teachers are overwhelmed, right? So, and this will increase the more burden on the school when there is no space, room to build new classes or new schools in this neighborhood. And I see the next to the Victoria Hospital, there is one apartment.
yes,
People put the literally board on the parking that we want to rent parking. We are gonna pay you $200 per month. So because there's 1-to-1 parking ratio and everyone has multiple vehicles, right? So it's not, we see affordable, but it's not actually realistically affordable, right? And the safety of kids, right? People walk there with their pets and kids on the Gull Lake Road because there is no sidewalk on that road, right? So they have to walk literally on center of the road. And one side is car parking, and there's only one way is to go to car and kids and other pedestrian.
so yeah, we do have the one sidewalk on that one section of Gull Lake. Okay. I will ask the public service, the ability to have a sidewalk on Gull Lake on the other side of their property. What the, we're here to rezoning, we can do that. It doesn't connect, but it does connect to a cut through, or there is a cut through, which doesn't really show up on this. It doesn't really show up, but there is that cut through to the community center on High Lake Bay. Is it High Lake Bay? No, I'm sorry, it's not High Lake Bay. It's Gundy Lake Bay. There's a cut through there.
So my daughter and other kids always take like Gull Lake to East Lake Road to go to Bonnie Castle.
Oh, to Bonnie Castle,
Yeah.
Sure. Bonnie Castle.
Because
right.
we don't get school bus.
Right. Okay. The Bonnie Castle. So do people cut through? Like I know the community center plows it from Gundy Lake Bay. I guess it depends how far down Gull Lake you are. Because there's East Lake. Okay, I hear what you're saying to Bonnie Castle. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I have no more questions. Anyone have questions?
No more questions for me.
Okay, next is Naman Kumar Vora, who's speaking in opposition. Did you want to speak?
Not it's already speak, but I have a little concern, not too much. But sorry to say, you say you researched something before plan and after plan. Actually, do you know how many allowed to in 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom people?
That's a good question. We went through that in the public hearing. You can answer that question.
About
How many are allowed in a 1 bedroom and how many people are allowed in a 2 bedroom?
okay, I'd have to look into that. That's
Okay.
occupancy.
Okay.
So my understanding is when you sign your lease, you say how many people are in there. That's my understanding. Now, you know as well as I do, other things happen.
Yes, so sorry to say,
Yeah.
but in here in the office and we research in computer or we send somebody to research it, better you go and look, you are shocked.
Mhm.
So when I come here, 2020, that
Mhm.
time they say you and your wife,
Yeah,
I have a kids.
yeah,
Okay, no problem. And I told him, if my mother is coming for a few months,
Yeah.
so you need to inform me how many months and
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
2 bedroom, 8 people, 8 student in living.
Mhm. That's why we need more apartments.
But there is a apartment, they have so many, and you can build in Pambina highway, no problem. But in a residential area, you don't see this kind of big building anywhere.
Well, no, there's lots of places. Like like literally across the street, right, across the rail line.
They have a small apartment.
They have
before,
apartments, yeah.
Like a 1,000 Markham and something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of building, we don't have a problem. Like a small, it's okay. I know they invest the property and they want to build something, but it's okay.
Mhm.
My family is construction in India as well.
Yeah,
So they invest lots of money, but we don't we buy the house. I have a 3 property over there.
Mhm.
So we got the good look, space, convenience. That's why we bought it. And
Yeah.
the big building is coming, so many inconvenience. And also
It's not as big as it was, if you look at it that way. It was 10 stories, now it's 6, right? This is the problem in this area around the university. Exactly what you're saying, right? Like I've been in apartments that have large closets, off suites. It's a bedroom, right? Like we have a real housing shortage, especially around the university.
Okay, and another thing, they per apartment, per unit, 1 parking, right?
Yeah.
They allotted us something like that. But if you go, I want to book a parking spot, you need to wait for 3 months. Per people, per unit,
Mhm.
at least 2 or 3 car, everybody have it per house.
Well,
Everywhere. You just
yeah, but you heard that other developer that was here. Okay, he did 30 University Crescent, you know, the one right at Pembina and University. That's at 0.7. I drive by there all the time. That parking lot's empty. And those units are actually bigger than these units. That's at 0.7. And that's on, there's 6 or 7 bus routes that are there. It's on a very good navigable location. But what we're finding with these apartments along Pembina, it is true that they're averaging around 0.7, 0.8. The parking ratio. Not everyone has a car, right? I hear you're saying some have 2, some have none. If they come here and there's no parking, there's no parking. Where are they going to park, right? There's very limited street parking because of all the driveways. We're finding people don't rent if they can't find a parking spot. I know you can debate that. It's debatable.
But that concern is that in this area there is no any big building, so I don't agree with the big building. But the small, like 1,000 Markham or like a small that I don't have issue with that. Small little people, it's okay with that. But decision is on your hand. Better than precaution before. After everything happened, building something happened, and we don't have option. We just sold out and move out anywhere. So most of I have a lots of white friends. They say we are going out of city. I say why? They say better place, peace, calm. That's why. You have a $1 million house. They sold out and they go outside of city.
Yeah. Well, and that is the challenge about a city, right? It doesn't stay the same forever. It does grow.
Absolutely.
And we like the city's on the front line of federal and provincial decisions. Like the federal government decides the immigration policy, the province decides their immigration policy. When I was elected, I was dealing with horrible issues in Fort Richmond with student housing, 8 in a 1,200 square foot house, right? So I really am supportive of housing. Because with the university, people are still going to be coming, right? They're still going to be coming. And the university is so slow on building their housing. They're working on building more on the golf course, right? But this is on the rapid transit corridor. If it wasn't on the rapid transit corridor, this wouldn't be happening.
And also, don't worry about that. The now immigration system is changed, so student is stop coming.
Yeah.
And also, just if you allow to few months for like stopping something, then you see the new result, and you can get the good result as well if you can possible. Maybe 6 months.
I hear you. I hear you. Anyone have any other questions? No? Okay.
I guess just for clarity, you keep on saying smaller building, like what do you consider smaller building?
Smaller building like
Like it's, how many stories?
3 store, like whatever they have. I don't know what call for this. Like this is the high rise town, 608, like a floor is high rise town in that area. In my thinking, so is a small thing is 3 or 4 that kind of townhouse in before just cross the rapid transit like 1000 like something 990 Markham or something.
Yeah.
That kind of thing is okay, no problem. So no too much nuisance. If you can possible, they can make a 4 of them if possible. That's okay, no problem. They're making a two building, right?
Yeah.
Rather than they making a 4, that's okay, no problem.
It's a really tight lot, right? Like it's a small spot, right? Okay. Yeah, this has been a really difficult project, right? Because it's not on Pembina, but it is right on the rapid transit corridor, so. Okay, I have no more questions. Thanks for waiting.
Thank you very much.
And the last speaker is joining us via Zoom, Mike Ings, in opposition to the application. So Mike, we've just asked you to start your video. And then you have up to 10 minutes for your presentation.
We're working on the sign.
Yeah. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm on a job site, so internet's a little fuzzy, so I won't do video just to make it clear. Yeah, I'm here to talk about opposition. A couple of questions. I don't see on the plans any visitor parking.
Okay. We'll check with public service on that, but
Yeah.
it's gotta be visitor parking somewhere.
So that might impact the ratio that Mr. Manuk talked about earlier. He did say 1-to-1, but I'm assuming that's including the bicycle parking, which shouldn't be considered, right? You know, if you own a car.
Sorry, his 1-to-1 was because he's putting in car share, like, they have car shares there. I forget the name of the city car share, car co-ops. That was his 1-to-1 ratio because he's got 3 car shares.
Okay, so then what is the 1-to-1 ratio to 1 car share to 1 parking spot?
No, a car share, I believe, is, what did you say, was it 15 or how many?
Yeah, it can be considered up to 15, 12 to 15.
12 to 15 parking spots for 1 car share.
Okay. And then I also want to talk about, because you brought up the study that you did back in 2021 for the traffic.
Yeah.
That was more consulting or construction. I can't remember what they were called back then.
Correct.
They did it, but they did also note it that they did not do a study on Gull Lake Road itself.
Okay, but I sent them back and they did another one and I'm just looking.
Okay.
Yeah, the first one they didn't, and I thought that was ridiculous. So I sent them back. They did another one and I've got it posted on my website because I really wanted to do a pre-analysis and then a post-analysis. I can send it to you if you want.
Yeah, that would be great.
Got his email? Yes. She's got the email and I'll send it to her and she can send it to you.
Okay. Going to the variance plans, on page 27, the first floor building plan on the right-hand side of the picture. there is sidewalks leaving away from the building, and I imagine there's no fence there, so it's basically the sidewalks are going towards Gull Lake Road. What is your plan to deter people from, instead of paying for a parking spot, just parking outside their front house with the car and then just walking across, and then you're in your house, right?
Sorry, say that again?
So if you look at the right-hand picture, building floor 1, you can see coming from every unit, there is a sidewalk essentially connecting to Gull Lake Road.
To the sidewalk on Gull Lake Road.
So what is the plan to deter people from, instead of paying for a parking spot, just parking on Gull Lake Road, walking across, and you're in your house, essentially, right? Because I don't see in the plans of any fence deterring people from walking around Gull Lake Road, correct?
Okay, I'm kind of not understanding your question here.
Okay.
Sorry, try it again. Sorry, it takes me a while sometimes.
Yeah, okay. So if you look at, let's just take any unit on the first floor.
Yeah.
You can see that there's a rectangular box that is jutting out from the unit.
Yep.
That's typically sidewalks or asphalt or whatever, like an access walkway, right?
Right.
That will be connected to a sidewalk
Correct.
that is on Gull Lake, that is currently already there.
Correct.
What is deterring people from parking on Gull Lake, walking across the street, and then you're in your house, essentially, right? You're not incentivizing people to take a parking spot. You're incentivizing people to park on the road and go into their house.
Oh, okay. Okay, I hear what you're saying. So, well, you can only park on one side of the road, right? You can only park on one side of the road. If there's no parking, they're not going to park there. We have there's only so many parking spots on Gull Lake.
Yeah, I completely understand. I've lived there for 35 years. I know there's not a lot of parking spots,
Right.
but is still parking spots. So you can still fill up a maximum amount of parking spots, right?
Right.
And if the choice is between paying $50 for a parking spot or parking on the street for free, they're going to park on the street for free.
Right, but well, then they'll have to find a parking spot on the street. We can't prohibit people from parking on the street. Parking on that side of the street, it's parking on the opposite side because of the driveways. In that little section, I'd say there might be like 12 parking spots in the L shaped.
Like at most you could probably get about 30, 35, because you're not always just right across the street from it. You could potentially go all the way around your loop up to the stop sign that's at the Chancellor, or not, the cul-de-sac bay.
Right. Well,
like
we can't prohibit people from parking on the street. So the thing that I've observed.
Didn't you just bring up that you were talking about potentially putting in time variances, so you can stop people from parking on the street?
Okay, yes, if you put a time variance in. So I'm sorry, I'm missing the question. You're worried about them not renting the parking spot. You're thinking they're just gonna park on the street.
I feel that it might be misleading to potential renters when they come to view units and they just go, why am I going to pay for a parking spot?
Right.
When I can park across the street for free,
Right.
or on Markham or on anywhere else in the neighborhood that's close by, because they see such easy access to their units.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. You're right. Okay, well, like that's no different than any other apartment block in the city of Winnipeg. I mean, if they.
Yes, but most parking lots in the city of Winnipeg have 1-to-1 ratio, so at least one vehicle of theirs is going to be in the parking lot.
Okay, so I'm missing the downside. So they rent there and then they park on the street and
congest the street to no end for local people.
Well, no one owns the parking spots on the street. They're like into any.
I understand that, but you're causing congestion because it's not like a 3 car lane street, right? You're congesting it more, which causes then more traffic.
Right. Well, we do live in a city. We're hoping that many of these people aren't going to all have cars, that if you're renting a 400, 500 square foot apartment, kind of, I don't know if you've got a car or not, this is why we built rapid transit, so people would take transit more. City after city after city that puts apartment blocks beside rapid transit sees more and more people not having cars. We heard from the other developer, we know factually that it's averaging about 0.7 along Pembina Highway. This is right on the rapid transit corridor.
Yes, and I'm sure Mr. Manute can attest to this, if he were to lower the floors to 3 floor stories, and instead of a 6-story to a 4-story building, it would then go to a 1-to-1 with the appropriate amount of stalls and be compliant to everybody's liking.
True, but transit-oriented development along transit corridors is less than 1-to-1. Like the ratio is less than 1-to-1. So
less than 1-to-1 makes no sense though, right? Like anybody that lives in an apartment complex at least has one vehicle at one time or another, right? You have people visiting or or family members or anything, like even unloading your furniture, you're going to need some type of vehicle. Right.
Well, I hear you, but I know countless students that don't have a vehicle. So, and lots of seniors that don't have a vehicle. So, that's debatable.
Okay.
I mean, without a fact, an apartment block here will add more people, will add more traffic, will add more activity. It just will. We're in a city, we're on a rapid transit corridor.
Yeah, I get that. I'm a builder. I'm in construction myself. I was like, if we don't build, I don't have a job, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But I believe that this architecture firm has overlooked several things, and I don't have the time to go over them all. Like you can even see on floor, like the plan I was referencing before, there's no hallways on the floor 1 connecting the units. So there's a code violation right there.
Well, they're not gonna build anything with a code violation. The city won't let them.
Yeah, I get that, but it's an oversight that should have been caught before plans got submitted. So I don't believe they're doing their due diligence in looking at things. There is no visitor parking. I brought that up before. There's no place to store snow in the winter time. So they're essentially saying they're clearing it and putting it where?
Well, they're gonna have to haul, like a lot of apartment blocks haul, right?
Yes, but most apartment blocks have temporary spots to put it.
Okay, well, we'll ask the developer. I see hallways on page 32, but that's me, but how many parking spots?
For visitors?
Visitors?
Let me just pull those up. 18 on building 1 and 22 on building 2.
18 on building 1 and 22 on building 2 visitor parking spots.
Yeah. The hallways that you're seeing on page 32 are for 2nd level and 3rd level and 4th level. So those are correct, but yes, the 1st floor building plans on both of them do not have hallways. That is for building 1 and building 2. And if they do have that many visitor parking spots, then you're cutting down resident parking spots, which then impedes even more problems, correct? Like you're taking away potential parking spots for residents of those buildings.
Okay. Okay. Any other points in your presentation?
No, most of them will be for building when that gets approved or goes for a variance. So I'll just hold on to those for now.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions from people? No?
We're good.
All right, so just noting that there's no one else in the gallery in opposition to the application and no one looking to speak with respect to the application. Okay, so if there are questions for the public service?
Sure, so we've heard about the visitor parking. I don't know, in the drawing here, are we able to see if, I mean, I can't imagine there's no hallways on the first floor, but maybe these aren't the design, these aren't the working plans.
These are not construction drawings. I haven't reviewed the interior close enough to have, spotted that. Certainly when it gets to plan approval and if not at plan approval, at the actual development permits that are needed,
Right.
then that is when things like ensuring stairways and hallways and so forth are sufficiently wide enough. So if a hallway is needed on the first level and there's none provided at this time, they will of course have to provide one before they can get building. That's a pretty basic building code thing.
Okay, let's talk about the sidewalk on let's call it the north side of the lake of building 1. They're showing it in the drawing. When I look at page 24, I see it in the drawing.
I'm looking back on the original rezoning of this site in 2021, and I don't see any requirement that was made for extending the sidewalk.
But if I look at page 24, in the attachment on building 1, I see new public sidewalk. So that would be great to make sure that that's worked in, that it is in here.
Yeah, with this being just a variance application, they're just coming back for variances. It's something that we couldn't require.
So was it in the original? Because it's in the drawings here.
Yeah, and no, I'm looking back at the council minutes from 2021, and I don't see anything about in any servicing agreement.
Okay, we're going to ask him if he can put it in.
Yeah, I just and that's fine if that's provided. It's just I don't think through this variance we could require that at this point.
Okay. I mean, it's in all his drawings here, so. Okay. Okay, I have no more questions of the public service. Drawing's not labeled correctly on page 26. Okay, so now what? When does the proponent come back?
So there are no more questions for the public service?
No.
Okay, so the applicant can return to speak in rebuttal to comments made, but no new information is permitted. So Neil, you have up to 10 minutes for your rebuttal.
Thanks. I can understand people being frustrated with change in the neighborhood. I just wanted to make a couple of clarifications. The developer always provided a sidewalk. We were always going to build a sidewalk. That was part of a contribution to the community for the various reasons that people have already brought up. So that's in all our drawings. That's always there.
Yeah.
The Gull Lake Road setback of 25 feet was never 25 feet. It was always 20 feet. That never changed. So that's not a change. The main floor doesn't have a hallway on either building because the units are
Separate entrance.
they have a separate entrance, and it makes them kind of
Sure.
better for families in some ways. So that was something that the owner requested. And so that's not a mistake.
Okay, got it.
Actually, these drawings are quite detailed and quite compliant. Again, trying not to be defensive.
Okay, so yeah, so each entrance on the main floor.
has their own sidewalk and becomes almost like a townhouse.
Right.
So families kind of, kids that are walking from school,
Okay.
seniors that are walking in the neighborhood, not everyone's driving a car. You know, we all think everyone drives cars. Our parking ratio is actually higher than the one of the previous project in a car-centric area. We do have, we didn't count the co-op cars as 15, we counted them as 11.
It's 11.
So we counted them as the lowest number that we thought was reasonable. Again, this developer wouldn't proceed with a housing project with not enough vehicles. I think we probably have too many. That would be my own personal feeling, but they want to make sure that there's enough and that they're not going to adversely affect the neighboring community. So the last development I did for them, we had a 1-to-1 parking ratio on South Osborne. The apartment building's fully leased, has been fully leased since it was new, and there's vacant parking stalls. And so I don't think it's outrageous to think that this is a difficult parking ratio. And we heard from Nigel earlier as well, sort of corroborating that. I don't think we're trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes.
Where are your visitor parking spots going to be?
I don't know whether they're designated as these on the plan. They're just counted for.
They're outside though, they're out.
The handicapped ones and the bus or the handicap van ones are all identified, but the visitor parkings can be any, really. So we didn't identify them as such. I think that's all I have to add, really, in terms of our rebuttal. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, the next piece of action is a motion, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. That the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
That the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
That in accordance with subsection 2473 of the City of Winnipeg Charter, the variance is consistent with Plan Winnipeg and any applicable secondary plan. It does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property and adjacent area, including an area separated from the property by a street or waterway. It is the minimum modification of a zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property and is compatible with the area in which the property to be affected is situated. My supporting reasons are I am supporting the proponent. So my supporting reasons are this is located on a rapid transit corridor. History in the last 5 years has shown in the immediate area in and around the Pembina Highway, University of Manitoba, that the parking ratio is lower than what is being proposed. And we are in a housing crisis and we need to provide housing. So those are my 3 primary reasons. I know that this is change for the neighborhood. I know the neighborhood is not crazy about this. They're not keen on it. I understand that.
Okay.
We built a $600 million transit corridor to support development. So those are my reasons.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion's carried.
I'd like to move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in and the variance be approved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion's carried.
And that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion's carried.
Please note that the committee's decision with respect to this application may be appealed. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the order issued, which will be mailed to all persons registered.
Okay, that ends this hearing portions. Now we
Okay.
could have a motion to suspend the rules to allow for,
Motion to suspend the rules.
okay, all those in
Two
favor?
motions.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the two motions that I'll bring forward, I'll bring one motion forward, speaking to the intersection at Killarney Avenue and Pembina Highway, where there have been reoccurring pedestrian and vehicle accidents at this intersection. Whereas the intersection is angular, high commercial services located at the intersection. Therefore, be it resolved that the public service report back in 120 days on the following: the number of crash counts, pedestrian fatalities, major and minor injuries at the intersection of Killarney and Pembina Highway, and that a general safety traffic review of the area with options provided to improve safety. Okay, that's the motion.
So a question.
Go ahead.
Would it be beneficial to have a timeline of when they're, like, from what period to what period they're reporting back on?
Oh, the time frame. I guess one could say in the last 10 years, or I don't know, like whatever you
I'm
want.
just thinking they may come back with the last 120 days.
No. I don't know, do we put a timeline in there during the last?
You don't have to, it's up to you. And I mean, the public service will speak to it at Public Works and
They'll probably make the most reasonable timeline without us asking, then we can ask for it later.
Yeah, good point though, good point. Okay.
Okay, so that's the motion.
That's the first motion, yes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion's carried. Motion number 2, please.
Okay, the second one, again, this is because of the addition of a whole new development called Waverly West. So we've got operational challenges at the Waverly and Kenniston intersection at the Abinogi-Mickina and Waverly intersection area. It's a corridor. Basically, we know the public service has prepared functional design drawings to incorporate upgrades. That the Winnipeg Public Service be directed to prepare a report to outline the design work completed to date, and including a review that considers short-term and long-term improvements with recommendations specifically related to the next steps, and to report back within I don't agree with what they've recommended.
Longer or shorter?
I'd like to see it shorter. I'd like to
180?
see it in, well, let's try for
210.
Let's try for 210.
210.
210. 210.
Okay, that's the motion.
That's the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion's carried.
Okay, motion to
And
adjourn.
motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Okay,
Aye,
perfect.
motion's carried.
Okay.
We're meetings adjourned.